Oh my god,
That was amazing.
that was worth every second of that wait.
I couldn't even get it started. The voice broke immediately. Hey y'all. I was trying to do it, but it just.
We should have
Hello.
Hello, and
we should have Arlen open the show more often.
Hey guys, we're here to talk about this little show called Falcon and the
Captain
Winter
America
Soldier.
boys.
Has anybody heard of this show? I don't know if anybody's watched it or not.
No, I hate Marvel.
I've never read a Marvel.
They're pretentious and they're too bright and they're super unrealistic. They couldn't.
It's not good like Monster Hunter.
Yeah, the action is bad, and
everybody's moms have different names.
Yeah, there's plot. There's plot. There's plot in this show, so therefore it's bad.
Right. There's character development.
It's nowhere near as good as the cinematic masterpiece that is known as Spawn.
I don't know.
Obviously, this show is terrible because Bucky is an irredeemable war criminal. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, does anyone else hate John Walker as a new Captain America, guys? Anyone else?
Oh my god.
Anyone else feel that way?
Oh, fuck's sake. I've never watched the show. I've just heard people talk about it.
USA. All right.
I happen to think the little terrorist who blew some people up is pretty reasonable.
Maybe that's almost the point.
That was heavy sarcasm, guys.
Yeah.
I guess there's people out there who are like, "What? Carly's the good guy." I'm like, "Fuck no, she isn't."
Yeah, there are also people who are like, John Walker did nothing wrong, and like,
fuck those are insane.
That is, I never thought I could hear that of anyone, even if the show didn't come out.
Yeah. So, Fearless Leader, do you want to lead us down a direction so we can start talking about this?
Sure. I guess, does anybody have a really strong hot take to open us up with? A real...
I do. I have one.
Sure.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus is amazing. That's not a take.
I mean, not really a hot take, more just
it's more of an observation.
Knowledge. Yeah.
Can I start with the one big thing about this that I did not like?
Sure. Yeah.
Sharon Carter reveal.
It's ham-fisted. They didn't do as much set it up as they could have.
It was very obvious.
Well,
like the people behind the scenes and on the internet did a better job of coming up for reasons why it would be her than the people who wrote the show. Like the whole Apple doesn't allow villains to have iPhones thing.
So thank you, Ryan Johnson, for telling us all about
that.
Wait,
what?
Also,
yes.
Yeah,
Apple does not allow villains to use their phones.
It was during the promotional tour for Knives Out. He was talking about that, and he had said, like,
are you telling me that if I see a character in a movie use a cell phone and it's not an Apple one, I am then to suspect they are probably a bad guy?
Probably. They're probably duplicitous or evil or some other word. Also, just a little very me thing to say. That was clearly an HTC 7, I want to say, a phone that came out 5 years ago. And enough of that. Throwing that away into a trash can.
When did they start doing that? Because Tony Stark is an iPhone in Iron Man.
So there wasn't an iPhone yet, or I don't. In 2008.
Yeah, I think there was.
2020?
No, he was
2007.
He was using an LG phone in the first Iron Man film. He was
he
the one that had the weird flip screen.
Yeah, my dad had that phone. It was good.
But everybody thought the iPhone was like an experiment. It wasn't quite the same hit that it is now. It wasn't the dominant phone in the American market like it is now. It was a phone that came out that people weren't sure would be a long-lasting thing.
Android gang rise up. That's all I'm saying.
Android also Android also was not doing extremely well.
No.
Because there was not a flagship Android phone at the time. Wow, my tech nerdery is really coming in in use here right now. So yeah, anyways, I don't know when this started. I would have to imagine around 10 years ago, maybe, once the iPhone was really established and smartphones really.
So by how many iPhones was that ago?
I think
I'm joking, Harlem. Please.
No, I
like, hold on, I got this.
That's like 8. That's 8 iPhones ago. If my
Oh my god.
So it's like
correct.
iPhone. That's what, 3 then? 2?
I would say around iPhone
Something
4.
like
iPhone 4 is when iPhone was the thing. That's when it took over.
I think us talking about technology this long is the hottest take on Winter Soldier Captain. Winter Soldier
Thanos had a Google Pixel. That's all I'm saying.
Excuse me, who?
He had a
Who are you
Windows
talking
phone?
about? You Midwestern sounding motherfucker, Thanos.
Thanos. Wow, this is already going so many great places.
Sharon Carter.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, they didn't do a great job of setting it up in the show.
No. It's also really quick and just kind of done. So it's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm the pirate broker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan of that, but I didn't have a huge problem with it because I'm glad she's actually getting work again in Marvel.
I'm glad that character is something.
I love how she's just like, girl boss. I'm badass in charge of everything.
Oh yeah, she shows up in that suit. Like, yeah.
Sometimes my wife, it's hard to get her to watch this. She was so, because she called it from like the first time she showed up, and she was so in on it. She's like, I want to see what, like, I love it. And then when she started shooting people, she's like, yes, like, because she was so hyped. She's like, I'm so glad that she's just like a badass like boss bitch, and she loved it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I just love that she's from this like established, like, there's a esteemed military family in the country. Fucks her. She's like, you know what? I'm coming for all you. Like,
fuck you back.
Yeah, she's gonna be kind of like an evil Nick Fury, for lack of a better term.
You know what would be really fun?
Girl boss John Wick. That's all I'm saying.
What if she was feeding Barton like locations for gangs to help her rise up?
Oh, maybe.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I feel like she's
no, go ahead.
Because I was gonna say, I feel like she's firmly like middle in terms of bad or good. Like, I think she's definitely in that sort of
she's
chaotic,
just
neutral.
Yeah.
She's definitely in it for herself, I think.
Yes, exactly.
But she'll help out her friends.
Bad. Exactly.
Well, that's
like,
that's something I was trying to figure out. Like, just thinking back on the show, is how did her showing Sam and Bucky, where the super serum or the super soldier serum was being made, help her? Like, I don't understand what that part of the plot.
I honestly don't think that. I think like her and Allegra are going to be like kind of villains, but I don't think they're going to be like 100% villains. I think they're just going to be like sort of the lawful force in this universe.
So to use a show that is not canon currently, I think she's more in a Hogarth position.
Yeah.
Than, which means that she will be on the side of villains for periods of time, until she isn't. And I think, to your point, Eric, I don't think she thought things would go that way. I don't think she quite thought that Baron Zemo would shoot a man in the head.
Well, nobody suspects Baron Zemo.
Exactly.
To pivot off of her, though, I think one of the things I was most impressed by was that Marvel went full in on the representation of the Black community in this. Like, they didn't go as hard as they obviously could have, but the fact that they even addressed it on the levels that they did, I was kind of shocked by, because Marvel has always played it kind of safe.
All the race stuff, like, they went hard into, like, the whole show is basically about that.
Yeah. It's much more depth and thoughtful than I ever would have assumed.
Mm-hmm.
Go for.
I honestly never
Yeah.
assumed that they were even going to be like
mentioned.
Assumed that.
Hunter, are you still there?
Hold on,
They took him out. They took him out.
No, sorry.
God, I thought I
Sorry.
was having some sort of issue there.
This
No,
is Apple for talking shit.
My internet shat out for a second. But as I was saying, I honestly did not expect them to even say the words, "You're asking me to be a black Captain America." Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that was great being able to include Isaiah. Like I was shocked that they included him because that's a pretty deep dive.
The way the character is written too is amazing, and that dude acted the fucking shit out of it.
Yes,
this is his third comic book thing because he was the voice of Martian Manhunter. In the Justice League cartoon, and he played Martian Manhunter's father on Supergirl.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And they basically have him go out like Xavier in like Logan, where if his psychic powers go too strong, he's gonna kill everybody, and he has Alzheimer's as a Martian.
Oh,
yeah, I remember
Martianheimers.
But he was amazing in the show. Like the speech he gives in the second one, just to like Sam, about like it's an interesting take. Like no black man would put on that stuff; they'd be a joke. Even that stuff was interesting.
Well, yeah, like the very end when Sam brings him to the museum and shows him the statue, like I legit got chills at that point. I was just like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like,
yeah, that was awesome.
It was beautiful,
handled so well. Like just like that
the silent
just the shock and his grandson staring, but also just the speech, or not the speech, but the discussion that he and Sam had before they went to the museum. Was pretty great too. Where like Sam was basically like, no, it's we fought for this country, we died for this country, and you'll be damn sure I'll wear that costume and fight for it. Like, it was really well put together.
I like the response. It was like, you almost had me there for like a second. Like that's how good it was. He almost pulled him out, but then when they showed him doing it with that statue, it's such a great scene.
Yeah, it was the. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say on that note, lots of good speechifying from multiple characters.
Man, give Anthony Mackie more moments of just talking at people.
Yeah.
Also, well, that's just people give him more movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what I think this was. It was kind of a test bed to see, like, how people are going to respond to him having a bigger role, and he obviously can handle it really well. I mean, that's also based on everything else I've seen him in, but still, like, he's great. Like the scene where it was him talking with the senators and the other leaders of the whatever relocation committee.
Warner Herzog.
That's what happened. Discord. I was like, who just popped in?
But yeah, like we'll talk about this more. The news story that came out, I wasn't surprised at all because of his performance in that finale episode. Yeah. And
if you've seen him in other movies, he's a really good actor. Like,
he is.
Yeah. But he slipped into being Cap immediately. I was like, yeah, that's Cap.
Yeah, it was like natural.
Yeah.
To be honest though, it's not that surprising because so based on his introduction in like Winter Soldier, he's presented as kind of a regular guy. He's like jogging. He has a sense of humor. He's talking to Cap and stuff. But then it shows that he's like at the VA giving counseling to like soldier with PTSD. So he's like he can be very inspiring. He knows how to like talk to people in a way that's not like talking down to them, or like actually like giving them what John they need Walker to hear. Yeah. I love when I love when John Walker meets the Dora Milaje for the first time, and he has no perspective or no like. Oh my! He's just like, oh my god!
His whiny response afterwards, like, "You weren't even super soldiers."
He's like, "You have no jurisdiction here. You don't either. You're American. You're not even in American soil." It's just,
I love the journey of John Walker because like he's this like I don't know, probably an otherwise pretty nice guy, and then he gets dropped into like the shittiest situation, and the whole time he's just treading water the whole time.
The thing is, Okay, I was gonna make one more point and I'll shut up for a little bit.
No, go ahead.
No, go
opinion,
ahead. Yeah.
My opinion of John Walker is that like he's not like the completely evil, but he's also not like a saint either. But like my point is that like the reason why he's a bad Captain America is because he didn't turn it down like Bucky would. Bucky would turn it down like I don't deserve this because Bucky knows he's not he's had some issues.
Yeah, he's not ready for it.
Yeah,
well, and that's why
I respect Bucky because Bucky knows he's not ready for that.
Yeah, Bucky knows when to say when. That was my whole thing with like why he is so not Cap, because he's the decorated war hero, and he's like, oh, I'm doing this for the country and blah blah, but it's all a facade. Yeah. And that's what made Steve so good, was that like he wasn't that person, but he was still a hero.
Steve didn't have anything, and it was still heroic and like noble and like respectful. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He had he has no physical prowess, and he had like no money. He was just a fucking regular dude, and he was still like, hey, I'm not
Yeah, but he had his priorities in the right place, which I think.
Yeah. And also,
you go ahead.
Steve came up in a changing world where he could meet this like the status quo constantly, and John Walker is dropped with a parachute into it, and like he's contending with fucking super soldiers and the Dora Milaje, and he's just like, what the fuck? Nobody prepared me for this.
But I don't. But that's the thing. Like nobody really prepared Steve for anything that happened to him.
Right. I'm saying he kind of rose with all of this like extra shit that has come up in that universe.
He's the first.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like John represented what America is, and Steve was what America could be.
Can I put a parallel though between them? So. Well, yeah, John was a regular soldier, and he's going to get super soldiers. He's kind of like feels inadequate. But Cap, like Steve Rogers, was always that anyway, because Steve was like a little scrawny dude, fighting a grown ass man, and still wouldn't back down. He's still like, I don't give a fuck, like I'll fight you.
Yeah, I'll do this all day. Yeah.
It's also how those two men process that, because Steve can take a beating and be like, well, I'll do better next time, and John takes an L, and he's like, he just goes off the fucking deep end.
I gotta do better. He's like, I can't handle it. He's like,
everything he did in his life, he's perfect at. So he's never had defeat.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a part of the character. So
it goes back to what Erskine was teach.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that whole stuff. But I do want to say that what I like about the show, ultimately, and in the way that they put it all together, is he still is an interesting character, and he's still a character that you can root for. And want to see him in future things. Like if they do Thunderbolts, which it feels like they're very heavily hinting towards,
it's inevitable at this point.
The
raft being repurposed is like the biggest thing.
Well, the fact that they keep bringing it up also, and the fact that they've already announced Tim Roth is coming back as Abomination.
I missed that.
Yeah, for She-Hulk. They announced that. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I really hope he's put on trial and he has to like stay like like a little witness booth and just like
I think that's the plot. I think if I had to speculate, the plot is he's finally actually put on trial for something because they couldn't try him up until then, and Jennifer is probably his lawyer, and she has to defend him.
And then Daredevil's there.
Sure, Hunter.
These are only the opinions of Hunter Davenport. They do not reflect.
And a dragon shows up.
Yeah, and there's a dragon.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, since you just joined us, do you have any just broad takes on the show, or at least things that really stood out to you? That
I was satisfied with it. I really liked it. I liked how they did the stuff with, like, speaking of African American stuff, because like it's they didn't go too heavy handed. I felt like it was just right where there's like touch on it where just at least mention it, that it's like like people are gonna fucking hate him just for being Captain America in black.
Yeah, well, I mean that was the thing I'd brought up, is that like I was kind of shocked that Marvel addressed the elephant in the room with this, because I mean Marvel has played it relatively safe. So it was a refreshing surprise to see them address what is essentially the biggest thing about
this. Because you can't just say Marvel or Disney, because the writer did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, still, I'm saying as a conglomerate, Marvel.
I'm sure they would.
It's
There's
weird
some
to see.
pressure.
It's weird to see them take a hard stance on anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
The more I think after
Usually-
like Black Panther and a lot of other things, they're more willing to let writers and like people just like, put things in there.
Yeah, I think that's true. And even though I don't think that they would say this. I don't think Luke Cage hurt that. Luke Cage was doing a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah. Luke Cage was fucking going heavy into it.
Yeah. And I think that probably broke down a lot of the walls there. And I think that's part of why, to some degree, Black Panther was as big of a hit as it was. Not right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Watch that.
You know what?
It might not be far off.
The comics because.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a part. And becomes Captain America, and then Steve was just like, "I'm just gonna protect the world." Did he never really worried about politics, like fucking shitty and brutal?
Okay.
Actually,
So like
needs to be more overtly political and stuff, because like if you remember the is it Mockingbird? It's racist against like they come there to like get information on mutant kids who are like a team, and it was real interesting like having that, like calling a character like Captain America like racist for that.
Yeah, I feel like the X-Men have always kind of done that. I think we talked about this.
They've had a lot more. They definitely have always had the most leeway.
Yeah, like again, a couple weeks ago we talked about how the X-Men like addressed a Captain Marvel getting raped by that alien being or whatever.
By her son.
Yeah, and like the opening, yes,
her son.
Opening
in what?
An X-Men book.
Wait, you want to fucking run that back real quick? What?
So there was
himself.
Yeah,
Why would they write that? That's fucked.
Because it
was
like
late
'70s, early '80s.
Yeah. Yeah, the best part is that
whole character that's superpowers date rape.
Yeah. So that plot was stolen by a Star Trek: The Next Generation episode that came out 10 years later. It's the same exact beat for beat. It's Deanna Troi who gets raped by an alien and then gives birth to said alien.
Fucking hate it.
Trek.
The climb out in his book because she was part of the Starjammers, I think, at that point.
I don't know.
Yeah, but she was. The point is that she was in the X Mansion, and Xavier read her mind, and he was horrified by what he saw. And he called the Avengers to the X Mansion to be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
This is Xavier of like all characters.
Yeah.
I love the idea of Professor X just assembling the Avengers so he can just talk down to them.
Yes.
Avengers
dress
assemble.
them down.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Get in here so I can tell you what pieces of shit you all are.
So
they did some things. But back to Falcon Winter Soldier. I don't know. What did we want to move on to next with the show?
I think
I was gonna say,
I don't think there's gonna be more. There's not gonna be a next.
I have one hot take on like a character who's not very big.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
GSP is a good actor.
Yeah, it's weird.
I do like him. He's really good.
He's
okay.
Really good as that character. Like,
he's dead now, so
yeah, they go.
It is gonna
how far that got him.
Some goopy goop, and then he'll be back.
Maybe he can wear his goof.
What if he's just a Skrull? Wait till those.
Oh my god, there was no body. He's still alive.
No,
Oh
we
my
saw his
God.
body fall.
Yeah, we
he
saw
was
the
getting
line from
fucking
the
was it a
shot.
scroll body?
Oh Christ!
God damn it.
Maybe
So-
maybe he can come back after some sort of serum, and he can
Speaking-
wear his original
Look,
costume.
Lou, he got shot, he fell down, and it was revealed that he was actually Deathstroke. All right.
Speaking of Batroc, I love that he only wears purple and yellow clothes.
It's
Yeah.
awesome.
He's so good.
Yes.
It's so funny to me because like every time I see him, I'm like, dude, you just pick other colors. Come on.
But
I
I
know,
love
I was-
I love that overt homage to the character though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was kind of
This is-
hoping when he first showed up in America to well, not even America, but when he was talking to Carly, that he was going to have like a ridiculous mustache as a disguise, just to kind of
That would've been
throw back
great.
to the comic.
And a
And he's
yellow
like,
beanie.
He's like,
Yes.
I forgot to shave today.
He's just jumping around.
So I had to walk back from being dropped into a canyon by Sam, so it took a while. So I grew a mustache.
Mhm.
Fuck that guy.
Jesus.
Can I say my favorite? I really like the action. The action's great, but my favorite scenes are the scenes where they just at like fucking New Orleans, just hanging out with Sam's family and stuff.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Was
so
Bucky,
Just-
Bucky
the
and
best
his
scene.
sister vibing real hard.
Yeah, that was the best.
Mhm.
That was the best.
Yes.
Okay,
They're
okay,
giving it's
you brought me to something I want to talk about. The rise of Happy Bucky.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like the development he gets in this show is startling.
Yeah.
And he has probably one of the most punching scenes I would say in the
Yeah.
MCU when he
That's fucked up.
fucking
That's sad as
discovers
hell.
he's cured.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's some good stuff. They don't. It's not a lot of screen time, but it's quality over quantity. I would
They
say
do
for
a
him.
lot with him where you learn about it's like how his arm works, where it like pops off. It's like
Yeah.
The Mrs. Nesbit moment. Yeah.
I also love how they're like, did you know they could do that? No.
No.
Well, is it
the
go
face
back
he
real
makes when
quick.
she does it. Oh, sorry. What you say?
Yeah.
Oh no, I sorry. Was it what did you say about Sam being in New Orleans, or was it who said that?
I was
Who
saying
brought that
when Sam and Bucky are just hanging out in New Orleans, or just
up? Okay, yeah.
like the previous episode with the boat, and then the last episode when they're just at the end was the best scenes.
Well,
Yeah.
it was something I'd read that Anthony Mackie unfortunately got turned down on this, but he had wanted to have Sam eat crawfish while he was there.
Well,
And
yeah,
Mm.
but the writers and director were like, no, we can't for some
I feel
stupid
like
reason.
there's a lot of things that they could have added like that would have been cool. Or seeing like what did Bucky eat in Wakanda? Like, did he try like jollof rice or something? Like, he's like, oh my god, what is this? This is amazing.
I mean, we do get
What are
we
these
get-
spices?
we get lots of weird little insights into all these characters too. Like the fucking scene on the plane where they're talking about the music and Steve's book. Like he's like,
Yeah.
oh, like 40s
Oh,
music.
the token thing too.
yeah.
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 Oh, yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
I
Red
read
Token,
Token when?
I read it when it came
When?
out.
Yeah. Which means Bucky was a massive nerd. It means that he.
Yeah, because it wasn't that
says
easy
it.
to get back then.
Yeah.
Oh, one of my favorite scenes when they go to fight though, and he's like, "Oh, what do you think you are, like White Panther?" He's like, "No, I was White."
Yeah.
Panther." Like just
He's like,
what?
He's like, huh? What?
Yeah,
Well,
their
there was a-
comedy and chemistry is so goddamn good.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah.
Speaking of kind of like comedy and stuff, Baron Zemo in this show.
Oh,
Daniel
yeah,
Craig
he's fucking funny.
is
Yes.
'Cause, as much as he's like a horrible piece of shit, and he's like a villain, but there's like he
Yeah.
had charm to him and just like charisma. It's like
Oh, there's so
Yeah.
much. And it's
You
like,
can't-
and you also kind of get his point. That's like one of the other
Yeah.
things the show gives you. It's like, yeah, these guys shouldn't be running around.
I respect him in that he doesn't like he still sticks to his fucking word that he's like, yeah, I don't like super soldiers. He destroys all the serum and shit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and he doesn't
Yeah,
Well,
that-
he's
he
not
could've-
out
he
to,
could've- he
he's
could've
not to
just did-
cause.
Yeah.
He's not out to cause like just broad acts of evil. Like he's not even interested in hurting the
specific-
general public. He's a very specific like set of ideals when it comes to what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Daniel Bruhl's performance is so good that you're able to overlook the ways in which they kind of retcon him, which didn't bother me at all
Oh,
because
to make him like
he-
rich or whatever.
yeah, to
Yeah.
make him
I
more
don't
like the
think they're
comic
gonna
book
retcon, though.
version.
Because they don't
I still like
I
it.
it's just
Yeah.
mysterious.
Yeah, they just said that he was
Yeah.
part of the military. I think.
Yeah.
They didn't really go into it in Winter Soldier. Yeah, that was the bare minimum of what they told you about. So
I
yeah.
also love that he has the fucking Harry Osborn butler
Butler?
guy.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yes.
He reminds me exactly of that dude.
Yeah. Which reminds me, like the first time we see the butler is one of my favorite joke scenes when he tells him, it's like, if there's anything in the fridge that smells, give it to them. And the butler's like, "Oh, I've missed you, sir."
Well, I was just so glad that he actually survived the entire series. Like,
Yes.
because they need to continue to tap into him for a future villain if Deadpool continues to want to be in it.
That goes back to Thunderbolts though, because he eventually becomes kind of a hero through Thunderbolts. So it's like
he's their leader during Secret Invasion, like, or whenever
he was their leader for like on and off for a while. Like he's a big part of that team.
Yeah, well, but I mean, Hawkeye was also part of the Thunderbolts for a while or whatever it was. But
I think he was the first one when they became like the government sponsored team, though.
Yes, it was
like,
him.
That's where like McGargan Venom came from, and
Screaming Mimi. I
remember Swordsman, but like the one that's they're X-Men characters where they only could have their powers if they were holding hands.
Yes.
Oh, the Fenrir twins or whatever their name is. I can't remember. Yeah. I don't want to say Fenris, but it might actually be.
No,
Fenris.
It is Fenris. It's Fenris.
Okay.
Yeah, because they are Strucker's grandkids.
Yes. Yeah.
Huh.
And they have.
When are they gonna adapt Paste Pot Pete?
Oh my god.
Well, soon. They could actually do that because the glue that stuck the mask to Zemo. Yeah. No, it wasn't from Paste Pot Pete, but he had the only stuff that could remove, or he had the only stuff that could actually remove adhesive X, I think is what it was called. So yeah, he actually does have a connection to the Zemos in one way or another. So you never know.
I love the idea of glue being like a big thing in Marvel.
Yes.
Yeah, we have superpower glue.
Well, I mean,
we have vibranium and glue.
He's connected more with Fantastic Four because I mean he was another guy who was like super smart, but then Reed Richards kind of just threw his dick on the table and said, "No, you're not." So
yeah,
and I'm not even stretching.
Exactly.
Maybe he was the engineer in WandaVision and they had to cut him out.
Or maybe y'all need to calm down out there, okay?
No. I refuse.
Every obscure character is going to get adapted.
You know what? Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a 0 out of 10. Omega Red didn't show up, and therefore it invalidates all the development of these characters.
Exactly.
Mephisto wasn't the power broker.
You know what's crazy is Omega Red didn't show up, but Madripoor did. Think about that.
Yeah.
My problem is that like people keep assuming certain characters are going to show up with no setup. Like they didn't set up Omega Red really. Like why would he just? Oh, I'm here now.
Wouldn't he show up in Black Widow?
Yeah, he'd be in Black Widow if there.
That was something else I'd read about recently. Was that Julia Louis-Dreyfus' character was actually supposed to make her appearance in Black Widow first, and then
and it's
show
not
up.
sure if her character is still in the movie or not because
really?
That might change depending on how things go. I would think that they would know by now if she's still in the movie or not.
You would think.
I think it's weird that
there's a guy sitting on the screen going,
I think it's kind of odd choice for Kramer to be the High Evolutionary, but that's just me.
Yes. Yes, I will evolve people, except for all of the N-words.
Controversial choice.
Yeah. Very weird, yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing with Dreyfus's character. Like that's some deep ass Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Nick Fury?
Nick Fury.
Yeah,
Nick Cage.
Cage.
What
my favorite Shield director, Nick Cage.
I killed him.
Tessa.
No, like that's some deep Nick Fury stuff going on there. And
Walker, hurry up.
It's also something that was heavily used in the Hickman series Secret Warriors.
Yeah.
So I feel like Marvel is just kind of pulling a lot from him for things going forward, or at least little bits and pieces here and there. Because I mean, Infinity War wouldn't have happened without his designs, or not his designs, but his plot lines. So I don't know. It maybe it's just because I've been reading a lot of Hickman recently, but it seems interesting that
because it's honestly some of the most popular stuff. Like that's probably
that too. Yeah.
Well,
considered a good writer.
If you're gonna steal plot and character stuff from anywhere, it's probably best to pull from more recent stuff. It's better to pull designs and stuff that would maybe seem throwaway from the classics, but a lot of recent stuff is really good. So why wouldn't you steal from that stuff?
When even started that way, a lot of the Phase 1 stuff is Ultimates, which was pretty-ish new around then.
Yeah, relatively.
Yeah, they combine a lot of the Ultimate
nice douchebag cleaning of that material, though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they washed all the Malar off of it, so
right.
It pretty much spilled into DC.
Yeah.
But
you're right.
Let's shoot Nightwing in the head.
Okay. Do we want to move on to the individual characters, or do we have any other strong opinions about something?
I'm tired of all the politics now.
It's your politics out of my comic book show.
All the politics that's in the source material.
Exactly.
All the politics that was there from the beginning.
I am tired of all the politics from the show where the character Captain America.
Okay, so I do want to say one thing on that. On that note, this is a comic book character who started off punching Hitler in the fucking face.
Honestly.
Literally.
No political connotation to that whatsoever.
So
political.
It's your politics out of my Birdman and Snow Soldier show.
I don't see why it's such a celebrated thing when a National Socialist was being punched in the
don't let the real world get too in here, Eric.
No, Eric, use your words.
Half the people that complain about the politics are usually right wing, but meanwhile they're also big fan of Trump dressed as Captain America, which is so blasphemous. Like,
it's the same people who are like, no, but states' rights, and we all know what that's code for.
What states' rights, dude? What's the state right they were fighting for?
Yeah, exactly.
Guns?
Okay.
Tell me what the Civil War is about if it wasn't about slavery.
Right. No, they tell you about economics.
Nords and Skyrim.
On that note,
freedom eventually.
On that note, we're gonna go character by character, like we talked about before starting. Let's talk about Sam Wilson. It feels like it was years ago. It actually does. So Sam Wilson.
I'll say I'm not impressed. Terrible. Hate him.
Yeah, it's the
not
Get out. Get the fuck out. You're racist.
It's.
I thought of a really bad joke, but I'm not going to say
it.
God.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I mean, you might be able to get away with it, Lou. But the rest of us might not be able to.
I'll do pieces.
I don't know.
It's about Captain America. I like it when his skin is a color and not his costume.
Oh. God damn it.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways,
I said it was a bad joke.
No,
I'm being obviously very sarcastic.
We egged you on, and we got what we wished for. So yeah.
It's
based off of comments from Arlen earlier in our chat.
Yeah,
how dare you?
So Arlen was going off in the chat earlier. It was really weird. I didn't know what to say.
Wow, the blasphemy here.
Sam has been an awesome evolution of the character. Everything that's happened has been set up so well by all the writers, and it just makes sense. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, the fact that he questions it in the beginning shows his character. Like, he wasn't just like, oh yeah, I want to be Captain America. He's more like, I don't know if I should,
Oh, it's so much more depth to the character, and him coming to grips with it, where he just doesn't want to say it's different being a black man to be Captain America.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they do the work. Something like having Rhodey there to question him.
Shit, I forgot he was in that. That was a great scene.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Bucky.
Rhodey being a character who's presumably got a similar situation going on, but very different. So he can understand, but at the same time he can't. It's a really strong choice. The two characters just have so much in common already.
I wonder if that was filmed before or after Chadwick passed away.
Yeah,
well, they already said that Rhodey was already announced to be have a cameo. Like I don't think it was new.
That scene has much more as like actors if it's after, because it's literally like the two, like they lost one of the three and basically the number one like black superhero that's been part of this, and like there's a lot more to it if it's after that, like to have those characters have that talk.
I mean, it still carries the emotional weight because anybody who's watching this show is obviously paying attention to what's going on with the actors and the Marvel films. But on the note of like Rhodey kind of having a similar situation, he does, but he also has the anonymity of the entire military that he can just fall into. While
and he's like a high ranking. He's like is he a general or was he?
Yeah.
I don't know what he is.
I think he's a colonel by now.
Yeah, he's a high ranking
military officer.
So they probably should have promoted him a lot.
Yeah,
you would think.
Well, it's established in this show that the world is not very grateful for the Avengers in general, and that Tony didn't pay them.
Yeah. Avengers getting paid in exposure.
I kind of like all that though. Like it's cool. Like it makes sense. It's like we've talked about before, especially when we talked about WandaVision. It's like, dude, the world is so fucked. And we actually like finally got to see like the real part of that. We saw a little bit in WandaVision, but like what they give us of during the blip is so interesting that like it's why the Carly stuff works so well.
Yeah, and so that brings. I actually do want to bring this up before I forget about it. A criticism I've heard is that is that they kind of changed how the blip works with what they've set up with Carly, and I don't agree with that position because I think it depends on who you are during the blip. I think for some people it did feel like the blip was a better time, and for some people it is the worst 5 years of their life.
It just depends. Again, like some people could have like lose a baby.
If you were someone who was like in an abusive relationship and that person got blipped out, or did you love the blip?
Yeah.
Well, then
they come back.
Yeah.
Even on a wider scope on that, like, all right, so the first year or two, like everyone is obviously going to be, oh God, what the fuck's going on? But you would think in some communities, wherever they might be, like by like year 3, you'd be like, all right, this is the new status. Like we've got to figure out what we're doing. And that would change, I think, a lot of people's views on like borders and like the way they view like religion and race and whatnot. Like,
because I think Carly even explains it. She says, I forgot which episode, but she kind of like touches on how, like it sucked at first, but then it's like, hey, more people are willing to accept people from other countries because they need help or need people to do jobs and stuff. So people just like, hey,
borders didn't exist. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's, like, it's what Erik said. Plus, it's like people whose lives were shitty now had opportunities that they didn't, and people were accepting just because they had to. Like the world was fucked. Like you just literally, in order to like be alive, like you need to like move these people around. So it's like it would make sense. I guess maybe like it made a lot of sense to me after reading some other like stuff, like reading Why the Last Man and like seeing that evolution. I was like, like it wouldn't take that long to like all that shift to change, and it's like then it's just as traumatic when everybody comes back,
right? And just based off of what they do show us, I think there's substantial evidence that there were just places where things just stayed bad, where it got bad during those first few months, and it just never got better. I think that's what you're seeing when Scott comes back to San Francisco. In Endgame, you're seeing a neighborhood that was, I assume that's a pretty like rich neighborhood in San Francisco now. most of those people probably disappeared and it just never got back to where it was.
Yeah.
But I bet if you went like a town over or a community over, it's probably better than it ever has been. So yeah, like I think the show's really well written in that sense. But I do understand how some people might have gotten lost with that, because the emotional hit that Endgame has, some of it's very strong and very powerful. And that I think that it can be very easy to be distracted by that stuff. The moment of the kid crying when Scott asks him what happened, and stuff of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's also that with Endgame, it was a wide scope, but it was still about the superheroes. While this is giving us the view of like the ground level of what's going on, because you didn't really see them talking to anybody like outside of what was needed to drive their characters like story forward, or to show where that particular character was at the time. While this is like you're getting a wider view.
I think they were like just trusting that we had imagination and we can kind of like guess, so like, hey, like different places are gonna have different effects of like half the people disappearing.
Well, and that's why I think they did a good job in the show, because like showing how many people are in her network, like even at the end, like the last guy, the security guy, he's still
with their cause.
And it's like,
wait, how does that guy feel? He's like, one world, one people. All right, boom.
Oh fuck.
Oh man.
But that's the point that Sam was making, is that like people are willing to fucking die for this cause, and you're just gonna like not at least think about that.
You're not gonna listen to the people that have these issues when you're making decisions for them. Yeah,
people are willing to fucking die or kill for this. It's like, maybe reconsider this issue. Maybe it's something that people fucking resonate with.
Yeah, and overall, his speech there is just so fucking good. He points out
that was
what they needed to hear.
Yeah, and that was the point where you're like, oh yeah, he is everything that Captain America was. Like he exemplifies all of the best aspects of him. Exactly. Yeah. But I'm just saying, at that point you're like, yeah, he's Captain America. Like not just because of the heroics.
And I love that, like what the kid says, and it's like, it's real cheesy. It's like, oh, Black Falcon's like, no, that's Captain America.
It's slightly corny, but it's still kind of cool.
It's corny, but it's like, all right, they have to get this far with
it's the kind of stuff that you need, though. You need that moment. Like,
you need that unsubtlety.
We can make fun of it all we want, but like the moment in the first Spider-Man where the guy is like, "You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us." You kind of need
Joey Diaz?
That was Joey Diaz.
Things.
Yeah, Joey Diaz.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah, I love the part where Joey Diaz gives a little bit of cocaine to wake Spider-Man up. Here you go.
No, that's Spider-Man 2, where he's like, isn't Spider-Man 2 where he's like, he looks like my nephew or whatever, or something like that.
That's on the train. That's on the train. Yeah.
Yeah,
Joey Diaz.
Yeah, the octopus.
What about you mess with all?
Yeah.
I'm a doctor.
I was talking about the bridge with Green Goblin, where there's a guy who
were they all throw trash at Green Goblin? Yes.
Yeah.
All
Anyway,
right, so anything else anybody wants to bring up about Sam before we move on to another character?
I think that Sam is like the best choice. Like I was convinced at the end of Endgame, but now after watching the show, he's the best choice for Captain America.
It's super obvious.
So much sense.
And they did a good job of making it clear that Bucky was not a good choice at the time, and he still kind of isn't.
Yeah, he's good support though. He's good for like being supportive to Sam.
He's good. Yeah. He's good at being Bucky.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was something else I forgot to bring up. But one with episode 5, the way it ended, they were rotten motherfuckers, even though I knew they were gonna do that. And then when Sam showed up in episode 6 and you get to see his costume in all its glory, like I let out an audible. I let out an audible. Fuck yes.
Yeah, I yelled. Yes. I was like, holy shit! It's like one for one the costume.
It is. Yes. It is so good looking. Like it is it is honestly my favorite costume right now in the MCU.
I never thought a costume that they could pull off in real life, the head buttress. I don't know what you would call it. The gambit is what I call it.
Head buttress.
The cowlish thing.
It has the cowl with the open top. Like it looks good.
Yeah, it looks great. And I never would have thought that based off of the books. I've never liked that costume, but it works really well
The only part I didn't like was like the close up. The goggles were a little goofy looking.
Yeah. I thought his ears looked a little funny sticking out of it, but outside of that, like I was just like, this is
they can easily just put like little caps over the ears so they don't come out.
Exactly. Can I say something about Sam though? I feel like besides even just being a good Captain America, Falcon, well, especially just Sam, he's like one of the most like well-rounded and human Avengers. Like,
yes,
because he has a sense of humor, but he also can be serious, and he has like a wide variety of like sides to him that he shows, you know.
Yeah. Well, he's the most human of them because he's been, he still knows normal people. Like the rest of the Avengers only know Avengers.
Like he's the human among the group of gods, but he has humor and he has family that's alive.
Right. I think it's also very important they showed him training with the shield because, like, I think it's important they both like even very quickly showed John training with it because that thing to me is so
it makes no sense
how it actually functions. I think the scene towards the end where Sam and Bucky are bouncing off the trees, you get an idea of like how light that thing supposedly is. Because like when it bounces back at him, it just floats. It's gliding basically.
It's like super thin.
Yeah.
It's like, and the concept of vibranium is like, it is funny though. Like it reminds me of the Avengers game. It's like every time I hear it make a noise, I'm like, oh, it's nothing, but like it's hilarious because like it shouldn't be making like, but it would be so uncinematic for it to just be silent.
Well, that's I'm glad you brought up the shield because that was something I wanted to bring up. This is the perfect time to do it. The point in the last episode where you see the crumpled "Hey Mom, I made my own shield" that John did, it hits the ground. The next time you see a shield is when Sam is doing the most Captain America-esque heroic thing he could do, and like it focuses on the real shield. Like the next shot is the perfect juxtaposition there, and I thought that was wonderfully handled.
Oh, and then, the next time he uses like right after, it takes out like all the people that Walker is fighting in like one shot.
Yep. So I guess.
What did everyone think of John's face turn at the end?
I like it. It's fine. It's not like a face turn.
I feel like he was always neutral. He's like bad and good. He's not.
I don't think he's evil. I think his heart's in the right place. He's definitely like misguided.
Yeah. So I'll say. Okay. I'll say this. I don't think it's handled that well in the final episode. I think the turn from him turning into like real bad guy mode for like 10 minutes there and then immediately turning back into a good guy, or at least it felt like immediately turning back into a good guy, and everybody treating him like, oh yeah, no, this is cool, this is all right.
I can relate to him is that the fact that like, let's say if my best friend did get killed, I probably would be that mad.
I get that. I'm just saying like they didn't give it enough space for him suddenly being cool to work. I didn't need him like really acting like, oh, I'm a good guy now and I'm cool, and him having jokes at the end.
I think honestly it's one of those things where it doesn't even register to him. Like he's just like, okay, well I'm here now.
Well, in his head he was a soldier who did like a thing that he was supposed to do.
I know, but he was ready to kill Sam and Bucky.
Exactly.
Exactly. Like in that moment.
It's a lot of it feels very sudden, and it's as simple as at the end of this episode, there's a little bit less of a smile from Sam and Bucky, and there's not the joke, not the thing of them being like, Lincoln, huh? Yeah, but like. Some of those interactions could be toned down, and they could be a little bit more of an unsure foot leaving off, and I would be far more comfortable.
Yeah. Like I think they played it for like, hey, necessity. He's working together with us, so we just gotta like get along. But it's like, the situation is so important that we can't just like.
It's really just like. It's jokes. It's like them like acting like they're friends now. It's a little bit much.
I understand that, but like he also like technically paid for the crime of killing that one terrorist because he was
he was essentially dishonorably discharged.
Like, and again, I think I said this earlier. I'm all right with this character continuing to be a thing. I think that they just did not handle the the transition. I mean, from him being on the bad list to him being on the good list.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was going to say
as natural as it could have been.
I think some of that you could hand wave away as like effects of the serum. Like that's going to be the easiest out they could have. Is like, well, it was a temporary psychosis.
His friend died, and like, yeah.
And here's the thing: it's as simple as Sam and Bucky have like a one line in between the two of them where they're like, "We get it. We understand that he wasn't in his best. It's fine. We don't."
Also, they only really fought him to get the shield from him. And then they're like, all right, we're not really stressing about this guy no more. Like, we'll leave him alone.
But if we're just going off of what the show tells us and we're not doing the extra work for them, it still doesn't feel the best.
I think that's where his speech to them works really well. And then the car scene at the end. Like, his speech to them is basically like, I didn't do anything you guys didn't want me to do. He's like, you just don't like that it was on tape. Like, I think all that works to show that, like, no, he's in his right mind. Like, he watched his best friend get killed.
Yeah,
and like I think it shows that in that lie.
A lot of it is good. A lot of it is good. It just feels like a bit more of a 180 than I think even the writers.
I agree with Arlen. But I also feel like maybe like slightly going off, but I feel like as much as like, there's things that I don't like about John, I still don't fully blame him because like. He was chosen for this, and they kind of just like, we're gonna choose this regular guy who's just a fucking soldier and give him the mantle of Captain America and let him go out and do his thing. The government didn't really like think about the complications of that, you know?
Well, that, and I imagine the tremendous pressure that we're not seeing of him having the American government overseeing everything he's doing. Because, like, when Steve was Cap, we didn't really get the impression that they were like, no, you need to do this, you need to do that.
He just
exactly. He made it clear that, like, hey, I'm not.
Well, he worked with S.H.I.E.L.D. They're not S.H.I.E.L.D. This, like, he's working for, like, the Army.
The U.S. government.
He's essentially a Marine.
Also, the beginning of, like, when Steve first becomes Captain America, it was only for propaganda. And he didn't like that. And he was like, I want to go do something. Like, I want to go help. And they're like, we're just going to use you for fucking bonds or whatever.
Shield.
So I want to rewind just a little bit because we kind of transitioned into Walker. I did want to say one more thing about Sam. I like that they made it so much who Anthony Mackie actually is as a person.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that quite a bit because I know in the books he's from Harlem and all these other things.
Well, he can also talk to birds psychically, so changed a few things.
So making him so like. That is Anthony Mackie's actual backstory. He actually is from that part of the South.
Anthony Mackie.
The stuff that's in the show. I imagine that the parents in the boat is somewhat inspired by real things. He's talking about this. He did an interview where he said that a lot of it is his actual.
Well, it's just so good that like not all.
And I like that. I like it a lot.
Harlem, like it's
right.
You should do.
Well, I think it's the New York centric aspect of the way Stan Lee was writing the books and just the way Marvel was writing the books at the time. He didn't
make Falcon. That's way after he was writing.
Lou, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the company culture of Marvel at that time, is very New York centric and very much New York is the world and everything else just exists, but we don't care about it.
I'm not saying that opinion is wrong because it's not, but. Like,
have you been outside of New York? Oof.
I was born in New York. I was born.
I know, me too. Born in New York State.
I know. Many of you are from that area of the world. Obviously,
both my parents are from Staten Island.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was born in Staten Island.
It's. Visiting my grandmother and getting to smell the perfume that smelled worse than the garbage they were trying to cover up the smell of is my favorite.
Oh, you guys were real close to
Yeah, my grandmother actually lived in the Great Kills area.
My grandma worked at that power plant that was over there.
Oh, okay, nice.
Like Staten Island is actual Gotham City.
No, Gotham City's like Newark, I guess, technically.
Yeah.
I went on a field trip to New York in 8th grade, and I remember, I don't remember, it was like a train station or something, like, and it smelled like poop the whole time.
Man,
Yeah,
what's your
because someone
point?
probably took a shit.
Yeah, I
there.
know.
What's your point, Hunter?
What are you surprised about?
Were
I'm
you in
just saying.
Manhattan? Then yeah, it probably
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
shit somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, there are other things. Like, we used to drive to like go to Chinatown at like 3 a.m, and it'd take like 40 minutes. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
load up
plus
on
my-
Special K.
So Sam Wilson,
Arlen's like,
Yeah, he's from New Orleans. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's really cool the way that they integrated that. I really like the sister character and
she's
their
great.
entire dynamic.
Well, she also gives us a ton of background world building of the 5 years. As someone being alive, like, I had all the pressure of everything. It seemed like Sam's the only one that was gone, and he was sending money. Like, her and the kids, none of them got blipped.
Yeah. Seems like it. Yeah, it's just it's a lot of the backstory stuff is really strong. I feel like if you were somebody who didn't love the Falcon, or if you thought the Falcon was annoying, I feel like this show did a 180 for you. I hope it did.
Bad.
Yeah. Also, you're bad.
I agree. But I think this show really makes the Falcon into like a fully realized character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I would argue that they did the same thing for Bucky with this.
Yeah.
Like he's become a fully 3-dimensional character now.
Exactly.
Before we transition, kind of what like Arlen, you brought up with the sister, I am so happy that his like buddy, the comic other Falcon, is like kind of set up in this. Like, because there is pretty much no Hispanic people in the MCU right now.
Yeah.
There's Ant-Man's friend.
Yeah.
Like,
Hispanic superheroes are fucking very rare. Like,
I'm offended by that. They should have called me. I could have done it.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where it's like if they made, is it Gabriel Luna who was a Ghost Rider?
Ghost Rider, yeah. Which is it Gabriel Luna, or am I confusing him with the guy?
It was Gabriel Luna, because he was gonna have a spin-off and it got canceled for some reason.
I'm trying to make sure I'm not confusing.
Okay.
Diego Luna is Game of Thrones. Gabriel Luna is tinier and has like a scar.
No, Diego Luna was not Game of Thrones. That's Pedro Pascal.
Oh, Diego Luna.
I'm trying to make sure I'm not confusing the Rogue One guy for
Diego
the guy
Luna
who was Ghost Rider.
See, I mix up Diego Luna and Pedro Pascal because at least they're both similar looking.
I'm offended.
All right, let's get off of this. Let's get off this.
I'm related to all of them, so it's fine.
Probably, yeah.
This is the episode that's gonna get us all trending on Twitter.
All right. Since we were already kind of on a roll with Walker, do we want to talk about Walker a little bit more, and then
the way people edge Lou into the joke that's and get him canceled?
Well, I don't know how much more there really is to talk about Walker. Like it. I think we covered a lot of the heavier aspects of
Walker's my dad.
To kind of go the same way, I love Lamar. Like what they do.
Lamar's great.
It's so good. Their conversation at the train station that like mirrors the Zemo one is done really well, and the backstory we get, like, these are real army guys who saw some fucked up shit, and at some point, like, all of their buddies were killed. Which makes like them.
Yeah, the way that they treat the military in general is it feels very real to me.
It's very real. And then him Walker going to the family, like the Lamar like arc, kind of like, oh, it's his friend. The way he dies so kind of nonchalantly in that fight, he's like, whoa, runs in and just gets like fucking destroyed.
He saves Walker in a way from some damage, and then like Carly. I feel like Carly's really perfectly portrayed because she's like a teenager. She's a teenager. She's impulsive, and she's been like, impressionable. So there's a reason why she's kind of like not stable.
She doesn't know how to like.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I
She's
love stuff with like how he just gets killed so like offhandedly that it's like disturbing.
But even when he gets killed, even the flag smashers react badly to it. They're like, oh my god,
they're like, oh,
what they're doing.
You done fucked up.
Even Carly didn't feel good about it. She was like, she stops and she's like, they stop fighting. They're like, oh shit.
Well, I mean, I think also him being killed just like that quickly and easily was to kind of show like these types of fights aren't for just
Normies.
people who are straight up military normal, but like, well, that's the thing though, because Sam is a human being, like he's not enhanced,
well, it does good to mirror, like he's a great mirror of Sam as both military guys, and then the conversation with Zemo, because he's like, fuck you, he's like, shit, yeah, I'd take it. Like, imagine how many people we get to save. It's like, that's the difference between like him and Sam, which they obviously do for obvious reasons.
Can I just say we should just be talking about Carly instead, because I feel like Carly's also the reason why like maybe people shouldn't have the super serum, because she had good intentions, but like she doesn't know really how to use that power, and she accidentally killed the
absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
The one thing I did.
Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
Oh no, the one thing I did want to bring up about Walker is that I do think the him being not quite evil but not a paragon of virtue either works really well for him being a U.S. agent and working for Madam Hydra going forward. So that setup was really well done because of where he ended up at the end of the show. Because just seeing him like being that excited about like, I still get to do it, like
he's the perfect pawn, because he wants to help, and he's so misguided that he doesn't realize what he's doing.
And he's a himbo in many ways. Like he's a himbo that's like not a bad guy. I did want to bring up like his scene with the parents. Was really good, and then I thought it was interesting to do the scene at the end with him and Carly, where she's like, you know, it's like, I'm sorry about your friend, but he didn't matter. It's like Lamar's life mattered. I was like, I was shocked that Disney would even get that close to saying Black Lives Matter.
I didn't even think of that, but
because that's basically what that statement is. And like it also goes to like showing like with Walker's like redeemability, that he's just like, that was his friend, like he didn't see it as like anything else. Like I thought it was a very good scene of showing, again, like Walker's not bad, he's just a cog in the system. That's
right. That's overall, I think that's the thing to take away with him, is that he's a very well written character who I would love to see more from.
If you think about it a little bit, I feel like Walker could be kind of a what's it called, the word I'm looking for, kind of a allegory to like the policing system.
I think that's what they were going
meanwhile, but they still like abuse the power, and then like they should not have to get in that position. You know what I mean?
I think he definitely is meant to fulfill. I think that's part of the role. I think that's why they make him relatable, but they don't indulge in the idea that things that he's done that are bad are excusable. And that's a fine line to walk, and I think that the show walks it extremely well. I
think the fact that Walker is white, he still has the privilege of being able to continue like doing what he's doing.
Being a superhero, which I mean, I think that's the big thing with him, is that he's so in love with the idea of being a superhero. He doesn't think about what that entails and why the people who are quote unquote superheroes are superheroes, because he's been told he's a hero all his life because of his military service, but that's something very different than what like Cap was doing, which was just, you know, he wasn't thinking of himself, he was thinking of the bigger picture. And you could argue some people in the military do think like that, but most of the time it's just, okay, I was told by my superiors to do this, so I have to go kill all these brown people.
Can I bring up a point? I just realized this. I'm trying to figure out how to word it, but like, it's real interesting that for Walker that he's married to a black woman. I that feels, I like it, but like I also feel like it's very production-y to do that.
I feel like it was just a natural thing. Like, they didn't make a point to make a big deal about it.
They didn't push it, like, but like it feels like, I'm glad it is, but it feels like very much that was the only racial thing that was like kind of felt like, I don't know, like it was good, but like I don't know, that was the only time I felt like, oh, they're trying to do a thing.
I don't know.
I didn't even think about it.
Also, it would to
make him seem better. That was what I'm trying to say.
I think it was just.
I don't know if that's what it was. Realistic. I think, because don't they say he went to high school in Georgia? Correct? Is that what they say?
I think
in
like
the show?
Him and his buddy are like childhood friends.
So if he's going to a high school in Georgia, presumably
he's been around black people before.
Yeah, and he's not one of the white people who got sent to like a private school that's whites only or something. Which
he seems like he's the poor kid that was just like really athletic and became the star quarterback.
So it would. There are implications like if he had a white wife somehow. Let's just put that out there. There would be weird implications there. If he didn't have a wife who was not that. So yeah, like
that's where that's where like
some weird.
Like the only thing that felt a little production-y on that end. That's just to me. I'm saying I thought it was interesting.
I think it would be the opposite. I think it would be weird.
I didn't even think about it when she showed up. I was like, all right.
Yeah. Honestly,
like,
it was
she's just like his wife. It's not like they didn't make a big point about,
It'd be different if he was like, "This is my black wife," and like,
Also, if they showed them like at home and they had no chemistry, and they don't get along.
When she first entered the first scene, I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize this was his wife." It's just, I think it's like everything going on. I'm like, I forget when this was filmed, and it's just like some things feel like, I don't know. That was the only thing that like kind of like perked my ears perked a little bit. I was like, oh,
so
that's all I'm saying.
There's a lot of stuff I would just write off as like whatever, because he's not the main character. If he was the main character and what we saw of him and his wife was all we saw, I would be a little bit more on that side of things, from that perspective.
I feel like I like that. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal that nobody had to point out that he has a black friend or a black wife. They was just like, that's just what it was. There was just I like the fact that like despite that he still can have white privilege. Like,
exactly.
I'm not saying that like it did anything to detriment to like the show. I'm just saying that was the only thing that like that I gave that like my eyebrow raise. So I was like, huh. I think it's a better move.
Saying, but I disagree with it because it's like there's so many shows nowadays that I watch where like it's just characters that happen to have like interracial relationships that are not like nobody makes a big deal about it, and it's just like it's just normal now.
Yeah, it's not like they were. It's not like they were trying to pull a like look who's coming to dinner type of deal here. It was just
I think it's because of like how important all the other racial stuff like it made that stand out to me.
But then
I can see that.
Not everything.
Not every. So I think I agree, Lou, but I will give you this: that interracial relationships are something that it's being picked apart a little bit more in media in general, and what that means. It's in a lot of stuff that you watch nowadays, and it's just something that is more thought about. So I can see like thinking about it and it being something that you would want to explore and that you would want to see explored. I kind of get that there may be an expectation there that may be part of that reaction. I mean, there's an entire movie that was like an Oscar-nominated movie that was kind of about that. I
also feel like in relationships, like it still can be an issue with people, but it's also like very normal compared to like other times. Like nowadays, like you can see couples that are interracial and it's not like nobody has to say anything about it, really. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not like in the 80s where like that was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I've dated like white women before, and like I've gotten like looks, but nobody ever really like said anything. It was just like, it's still not like a major fucking issue.
And if they did, we might have to go beat them up right now.
I'm sorry. What did you just say? Is I might have to quit this podcast. You take all our music. Now you're taking our women too.
God damn it! Okay,
all right.
I said it very wrong, but like I don't know, like.
Okay, I have a final note on Wyatt Russell, and then I want to move on.
I want to talk about Zemo after this.
So this was a really good role for Wyatt Russell.
Yes,
that should have been clear from Overlord, where he basically plays exactly the same character in a lot of ways. I mean, he even has the same turn where he gets the superpowers, and he immediately is like extra emo and edgy. in exactly the same way.
Plays a Nazi.
Yeah.
He's a great actor. I'd like to see more.
He's fantastic, and he is officially no longer just baby Kurt Russell. He is officially Wyatt Russell in my eyes.
Yeah.
Although I will say during the trial that he was at when he was yelling at the senator and whatnot, it was scary how much he looked like his dad and sounded like him at times.
There are a couple of eerie moments like that where it's like, Kurt, are you here, Kurt?
He just needs to grow up that mane.
He does.
It's great.
Overboard, Kurt Russell.
Okay, so do we want to go to Zemo or Bucky?
They remade that a year ago.
I have things to say about Zemo that I was kind of thinking of earlier today. This goes back to my excitement about Thunderbolts, but it has a point. I think the idea of teaming up Walker and Zemo in the future is kind of interesting because essentially Zemo is almost Tony Stark in some ways, where he's rich, but he's also like more manipulative and like kind of like not in the ways that Tony's good. He's more of like if Tony Stark was just a piece of shit, kind of.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. Yeah. I can kind of see that.
And it's just like it's kind of a similar dynamic where he's just so out of touch.
You know what? You did make me realize in hindsight that he is very much like Tony Stark because like in a lot of scenes with like the Avengers with Tony Stark and also scenes with Zemo, like while they're talking and discussing things, they're like eating and indulging in like decadent foods and like wearing fancy clothes. You know what I mean? Like they're both doing the same shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people have been saying he's just evil Batman as well. That's been
that's
because like Tony's making drinks while he's talking to Loki, or like Zemo's like making drinks or like getting food while he's talking to like
or while he's watching the Dora Milaje like
run up. Lou, I will say on the Lex Luthor thing, Lex Luthor's a fucking nerd. That's the difference between him and Bruce Wayne. Lex Luthor is a fucking geek. He's not.
Yeah.
I don't know, that Justice League Unlimited, like Superman animated show version that's fucking yoked.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't change anything. You can be yoked.
But back to my point real quick is like I think that dynamic is interesting because Walker's a super soldier now. And like if they team him up with Zemo can have to work with him.
There's so much there. There's so much like little like quips that they can throw out at each other, like you don't even deserve to be here, and stuff like that.
Like two kind of super nationalists of different countries.
Exactly.
Well, and the fact that Zemo even like begrudgingly admitted that like Steve Rogers was actually a great human being.
But he was like the one good person that wasn't corrupted by power.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Like he was
I need to see an entire like episode of whatever future show Daniel Bruhl might be on where he can just be La Sex Magnifique and dance.
I want to see.
That was his Spanish coming out.
Can I say the scene I want to see? Is that they do Thunderbolts and they're working together, right? I want to see a scene where like where fucking what's his name? John Walker's getting his ass fucked up, like just beat, and like he's about to die, and like Zemo doesn't help him. Zemo wants to let him die. Like, it'd be pretty cool. He's like
Zemo's too busy getting some truffles or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh man, there is so many good scenes with him. Like the scene with the little girl.
Yeah,
he's so good. Like all his
Zemo's a fucking weirdo creep. Like
it goes back to the idea that like Zemo knows he's smarter than everyone around him, and he uses that.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's like he was a super rich person, but he's also like a man of the people in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of like low key, like mini Doom. Like
he has perspective. He knows how like poor people like can like how to get their favor. I guess he knows how to like mingle with criminals. He knows how to mingle with rich people. Like like
yeah. And the way that they set this character up, I feel like he's gonna pull a lot of weight in terms of like exposition in the future. Like you brought up Mini Doom. I feel like he's how we get to a lot of characters like that. I feel like he's our introduction to Victor. He's our introduction to so many facets because again,
Silver Sable.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like,
Silver Sable will be interesting in that regard.
exactly.
No one said
like,
that ever.
Well, and I
Yeah.
mean they they
I'm joking.
kind of set up the potential for Latveria to exist, just saying
Yeah.
how like when Sokovia was
Mhm.
destroyed,
It
like
got
it was
gobbled up
split
by
up.
its neighbors.
Yep.
Mhm.
And they
So yeah.
they set up so many interesting things, like the fact that he still is a baron despite
Mhm.
communist rule, which suggests a lot of things about his position
Sokovia.
during in Sokovia and all that stuff. It's just
It's interesting that like
Yeah.
the two shows we've had are like very Sokovia heavy.
they have.
Well, I mean, because Age of Ultron, yeah, it's
Yeah.
characters.
It would be weird if like Loki has like 3 whole episodes that are about Sokovia at different periods of time. They're like,
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense because like, well, Wanda's from Sokovia and Zemo's from Sokovia.
Well,
I mean,
Mhm.
what
makes sense.
I think it does is it makes the worst Avengers movie more important.
Yeah, that movie is
Yeah.
not the best,
Well,
but it's also
that-
like watchable and it's serviceable. Like it's not. I don't think
Yeah.
it's terrible, but it's also like.
Of the four,
Yeah.
it's the one I
Oh, yeah.
would least likely
That's
to
fair.
go back to.
Yeah, it's the movie that set down the most pipe for later movies. Like it did more groundwork for things to come than any other movie,
Yeah.
which is a thing that it was made fun of at the time, and not
Oh
for
yeah, like when
bad reasons.
when
Thor.
the Hulk fell on Black Widow's boobs. Yeah, that was
Right,
very
yeah,
important
yeah,
for the
that
future.
was-
Oh,
that was-
your old buddy Joss Whedon.
No, but
Uh,
if we want to set jokes aside, like it's established a lot of Natasha's
Yeah, it
arc
did.
for later
did.
films.
it did.
Yeah, so like there's a lot in there that's like a seed for something that's coming down the line. You know, it's the first time we hear Wakanda spoken aloud and so on and so forth. So like
Mhm.
yeah, it's a very important movie that nobody likes, it seems.
I like it.
So
I still like it, but
Well,
it's like
it's
the
no,
shows
I'm
are
talking about
doing.
the world. I'm talking about outside of our little bubble of fucking.
Yeah.
It's
super-
the
But
shows
our
are doing
our
for that
bubble
movie-
is the only one that matters. So
exactly.
The shows are doing for that movie what like that one scene in Endgame does for Thor 2.
yeah,
Sure. Well, I would say it's continuing the legacy of Civil War, making that movie super important,
yeah.
and really like making that movie feel real, and not like a waste of time. Again, I like that movie, but I can
Yeah.
understand the comment. So Zemo, I think is where we were.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just
Uh,
like I'd said earlier, like I'm just so glad that they didn't kill off Daniel Bruhl again,
yeah.
and he can hopefully continue to come back. I mean, I don't want him to get overused, but
Mhm.
I definitely want to see more of him because even my wife, when she was watching, she's like, I love his character so much in this. Like,
Yeah.
Even during Civil War, like at the beginning, it's like, oh, he killed T'Chaka, he's a shit. He's also manipulating
Mhm.
Bucky. But then by the
Mhm.
end, you still sympathize with him because like even T'Challa does because when he's like, he's
Yeah.
still listening to his wife's fucking voicemail, like, and he's just
He's
like,
not-
yeah.
He's never
not-
wrong.
He's not
Yeah.
that like different from the Flag Smashers either. Like he's not
Right.
He's
Yeah.
very
Oh,
much
no.
someone who has his ideals and it goes to the extreme for him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
And again,
Is
he's
he
not
even-
wrong.
yeah. I like how T'Challa spares his life because like he's about to kill himself and T'Challa stops him
Yeah.
and then kind of like, yeah.
Mhm.
I love it. I love it so much when he stops
Yeah.
that fucking bullet.
That was
And
interesting.
I love
yeah.
his butler. His like was it 100 that said it?
So I
Yeah.
forgot who the
What-
butler was for a second until they cut back to Zemo. I was
Yeah.
like,
Can I
"Who's this
Yeah.
old ass dude?" That
Yeah, I
just
was like,
Can I go
fucking
on a
man?"
short tangent real quick? I want to go on a short little tangent. It has nothing to do
Sure,
with
yeah.
too much. Why do people have old butlers? If I had a butler, I would let him retire at 60.
Well,
I
it's
was
like
gonna
a
give you-
family butler. See, we don't know this because we're not old white people, but like they have these other old white people in their
yeah,
Hey, speak for yourself, sir.
but
exactly. You're old.
I don't want to
we-
presume, but I think that it's like after a certain age, you just
I
keep
think
the
if you
butler
watch Downton
on to-
Abbey, you'll figure. It out.
It's
Oh, the-
also
the
Oh,
movie
yeah.
about No, Batman and Robin in the film.
Yeah.
They're dying of Butler's disease.
And he's still making them like hamburgers and stuff.
Morning.
That's double the comedy. He's Gary and also Archer's father. It is Butler.
What is going on right now?
I don't know what's going on.
All I'm saying is, my point is that, like, let's say you're a fucking rich asshole and you're like, oh, where's my brunch? It's late. Your fucking butler's collapsed in the fucking study because he's bringing his toast and he fucking.
Well, cool. That way you can finally fire him.
Well, here's the thing.
Have to feel bad about it.
It's a pretty sweet life, all things considered. Like,
yeah, but just get a younger. I want a younger butler. If I'm rich enough to have a servant, I don't want an old one. That's all I'm saying.
This is gonna die on this hill. Like, I demand younger butlers.
Yeah, I
have to say, I am reading the Archer wiki. Woodhouse was never mentioned as Archer's father.
Lou, okay. I have had at least 3 glasses of wine, so I
have drank a bottle and done. I've drank a bottle, had a beer.
Oh yeah, well I did crack. I did crack before this podcast, so.
Okay. Yeah, goddamn.
I like the way
blowjobs in between the.
Where the?
I'm sorry,
fuck are
I
we?
missed the last 5 minutes. I was injecting mescaline into my eyelids.
I don't know what happened. All I know is all you people made me tell a very inappropriate joke.
Hey.
You're still
about
this, huh?
You could have said no.
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything they want to add about Zemo at this point, or do we want to move on?
He's good. I love him.
He's a beautiful Spanish man.
I forgot. So let's do. Do we want to do Bucky next, or is there another character?
Bucky. Let's talk about.
No, let's talk about Bucky.
Yeah, let's talk about my dad.
Let's talk about Bucky's what do you call it? Psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Oh my no.
So I loved the scenes that they did with that.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was part of the bigger thing with making Bucky into an actual 3-dimensional human with the show is showing all of these aspects, like him dealing with all the trauma of the things he did as the Winter Soldier
the
and
flashbacks.
That
whole thing, the flashbacks, and his friend was there's the brutalest plot line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the shot of him sitting on the couch, but with the forest behind him. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he couldn't see the forest for the trees, I guess.
He was lost in the woods.
Exactly. Yeah. It just, I don't know, everything they did with him just felt right. Like him being angry about Sam giving up the shield and not understanding
and the way, and again, the way that they do that is so fun, where it's kind of he just blurts it out. If he's wrong about you, maybe he's wrong about me. It's so, and again with the therapist, it's such a funny idea to have him going to a therapist, but then it works so well.
Yeah.
It works perfectly well. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and we get to have that scene that Sam and him with the therapist telling him to look each other in the eyes and talk about whatever.
It's a great comedy bit too. Having them each keep getting closer and closer.
The stuff that we get that's heavily Bucky focused, and specifically him and Sam together, the number of times where they are literally just doing Lethal Weapon.
Why didn't you use your other hand? Well, I'm a righty.
Yes, it's just it's wow, you guys, you couldn't. You might as well.
It explains so much, and it's so dumb, but it's so perfect.
Yeah, like
I love,
they might as well have given Bucky a fucking mullet or something just to.
Oh no, it's the other way.
Murtaugh.
That's the thing, though. It's the other way around. He's Murtaugh, and Sam is Riggs. He's two
okay.
shit.
Did I forget the? Did I mix the characters up? Yes, I did somehow. Okay,
yes.
no, yeah. They make Bucky is very clearly Riggs. Like he's so
No, he's Murtaugh. He's Murtaugh. He is.
He's someone who wants to retire.
He's Danny Glover.
Yeah.
He doesn't want any trouble, or he doesn't want to, he's the older one.
Yeah,
but
he's
Riggs
Danny
is
Glover.
insane. Riggs is utterly insane.
Yeah, but he's
have you seen the shit that Falcon does in combat?
Yeah, but he's also the fun one and the energetic one, and he's the one that's like kind of doing crazy shit. So that's Falcon.
He just wants
they
to
kind of both characters, like in some ways.
They mix them up a little bit, but I don't know if you remember this. Riggs challenges a man to a fight just because he wants to have a fight with him, not for any purpose, not for the plot, but he challenges Gary Busey to a fight because he wants to fight.
They had him dead to rights. They could have arrested him, and he's like, "No, you want to go?"
Yes,
because he had Gary Busey in front of him.
He wants to fight him to the death, and they both showed throughout the movie
that actually happened, and they just filmed it and inserted it in the film.
It
was Mel Gibson versus Gary Busey.
Just like, this is what happens when you put Gary Busey and Mel Gibson too close together. They inevitably fight like two big dogs.
They finished the movie, right? They're like, all right, cut. We got the scene, and then like Gary Busey and fucking Mel Gibson look at each other like, "You want to fucking go?" Like, wait, scene's over.
I'd love somebody out there to make the Godzilla versus Kong poster, but it's just Gary Busey and Mel Gibson.
Remind me in the morning. Yes. Remind me in the morning.
Seriously, can I point out how Connor pointed out recently on like Facebook that like it's funny how Bucky and Sam met while like being enemies. Of like Bucky ripping fucking Samuel out of the car and like killing him.
Yes,
that's how they met.
But like their character arc is really great because like you get to see like this fucking crazy brainwashed super soldier murdering people, and then him and Falcon trying to kill each other. Like he fucking in Winter Soldier, there's a part where they're on the helicarrier and Falcon's flying. Bucky uses like a grappling hook to pull Falcon down to the ground and slam him, and it's like I see why they don't get along. Like it makes sense to like you're not gonna be like that cool with this person who did this to you, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't flirt with my sister. Like that whole arc of that whole side story, I'm like, I want that to continue.
Again, that's the thing from Lethal Weapon. He doesn't want him to be flirting with the daughter, or something like that. Yeah.
So I want Bucky to be the stepdad. Also, it is hilarious that everybody calls him Bucky and not James.
Yeah,
it's a choice. Yes.
Yeah, like you like.
Remember when I think Sam does call him Bucky, and he's like, "No, Steve called me that. Or don't call me that."
Well, John Walker calls him that every single time. Like, what? Like, it's insane. It's like he's just like, "No, it's James." Like,
and nobody gives a fuck. Everybody knows him as Bucky, so he's like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Go ahead, Ezra.
I was one last little short thing. Okay, so I like that he has he spent time in Wakanda, right? So he has like relationship with some of them. But I do like when she just like takes the arm off. His face is so surprised, like what the fuck? Like
I'm so glad. I'm also so glad it was the same actresses. Like I'm glad that they didn't do like, oh, it's just another Dora Milaje. It's like that specific actress.
I think they knew that we would. They knew we would know.
Yeah. But like, it makes it so much more important in the grand scheme of things that like it was that actress,
right?
Because she's like the number 2, I think, right?
Well, it's important that she's
one of the prominent ones.
Yeah,
she's one of the first major ones that we see. She's the one who is like, "If you do not move, I will make you move."
The thing is, she's I believe she's one of the 2 characters where they cut the scene that explicitly said they were gay.
Yeah,
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
I believe that. Right. So that's why it's like there's like so much importance of like bringing that specific character back.
Yeah,
because she was like T'Challa's like bodyguard in Civil War.
When he says, "As much as I would like to see that, we do not have time," or whatever he says.
She's the one that doesn't get all the speaking lines.
She's a little bit. Yeah,
she gets a couple. She's the number 2.
Yeah, she definitely is. Yeah.
There was something I've been reading. There was something she says to Bucky as they're leaving after they're like, no, we're handling Zemo. And somebody apparently was able to figure out it was actually a reference to the Panther God that
Bast.
the Black
She's a
Panther.
Bast.
Yeah, thank
She's
you.
like Bast.
Yes.
Bast. Yeah,
It's Bast.
Yeah, all right. I couldn't remember exactly. I was just because I heard that and I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck was that? Because I knew the name, but I couldn't remember what it was. But yeah, I was just shocked that they pulled out that bit of lore too, because that hasn't been mentioned once anywhere. Like
that's
not even in the Black Panther movie.
No, they do
that
mention
is the
Bast in
name
Black
of
Panther.
the Panther.
They
mention
do?
Bast they do mention
They
Bast.
mentioned the Civil War and Black Panther. They mentioned Bast.
No, yeah, in Civil
Really?
War, when T'Challa is telling
Talking to Steve.
what Black Widow when he's talking to when he's like, in my culture we do not believe
Death is only the beginning.
Yeah.
It's like Bast and
Yeah,
Sekhmet. They walk with you until eternity or whatever.
Oh God!
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I haven't watched
Yeah.
Civil
Pay
War or
attention.
Black Panther in a while. Then, yeah. God damn. My bad, y'all. I rescind. Yeah, I don't know. Like
go Wakanda.
Bucky. What's that?
Nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. Just Bucky. It was fun to have fun Bucky like in this. That he wasn't just sad sack. Like, oh God, he was at points, but it was showing him like trying to be a better human being. And
I
love
Bucky on a date because that is
yes,
prime comedy material.
Yeah, that was good. Bucky cheating at Battleship was good.
Yep.
That was fun. If I have like a quibble with Bucky, I guess, and I feel like this is what season 2 is that I do think
it's not gonna be a season 2.
Well, whatever.
I'll swing why when you finish. Sorry.
Well, I think what I mean is they'll continue this story.
Well, yeah.
I think. I would imagine it would focus more on him, and like I feel like an idea that they kind of throw out there is him not being the Winter Soldier anymore, but they don't really commit to that idea because I think they're so focused on Sam's stuff, which is fine because I think it works out really well there. So I'm okay with that stuff being pushed to the background. But that's like, I guess my one issue with his part of all of this is like, other than some of his emotional stuff, he doesn't really have like a fully defined arc. It's just like a small sort of emotional thing for him, and
he gets closure.
Dealing with his guilt. Yeah, he gets some closure, but it's not quite as big for him being the second, name on the title of the show. I would maybe have expected a little bit more, but I still like what we got. So,
well, he was there. He was there to facilitate like officially donning Sam with the title of Captain America. Like he was there as a stand-in for Steve's approval of the role. Like that was basically what he was there to do, that and just be awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm perfectly fine with it.
And in a follow-up thing, the ending could be that he officially decides to make White Wolf the moniker that he goes by, or some other name that he wants to do. Maybe he takes up
go with anything.
Just be James or Bucky,
Yeah, well,
I mean,
like his superhero name. Like maybe he decides that I'm Nomad now, or whatever.
That would be a cool.
That would actually make sense.
I like that.
That would actually make a lot of sense.
I do like the fact that I get that like he didn't have maybe a full character arc that like could have been, but he went from being like a brainwashed soldier to just being like, hey, a friend. Like he can be supportive of Sam, and he can just be a regular guy who's just like. Sam just sees like, hey, this guy could just hang out with my family. Well, like it's not like,
I'm also kind of, it's like it wasn't like, oh, I was brainwashed, so everything's good now. Like it wasn't clean, which is a more interesting thing to do.
Yeah. I like that they leave room for other stuff to happen and for other development to go on and other stuff. And we were talking in one of the various chats about, it would be weird if he wasn't in Cap 4, but he could show up in another show. I don't know if they will do that, because that feels like even a level of comic bookiness that I don't think they're quite ready to.
The only movie he could
fulfill.
show up in that would not be weird would be like Black Panther 2, maybe.
Sure, but I'm thinking of this in terms of in the comics, characters just show up randomly. Like characters who you don't expect to show up just show up randomly, and they haven't quite gotten there yet. Not in the way that I can really point out. Like even Sam being in Ant-Man is like, well, of course, Sam being in Ant-Man makes sense. He's an Avenger. They've already set that up. It's kind of there. But I'm talking about something like I don't know, Wolverine showing up halfway into a Hulk arc or something like that.
Yeah,
Just a character you absolutely are not expecting, just like popping up out of nowhere.
But what if it's the other way around? What if Bucky shows up in a Wolverine TV show?
I mean, we can only dream. We can only hope.
Well, I don't think the MCU has been set up to be that way. Like
exactly,
they've set up clear boundaries, and people guest starring or making a cameo only work because they make sense. So they can't have like what they do in the comics sometimes, which, I mean, comic logic, yes, there are a lot of times it's like, okay, that makes sense why that person is there, but it seems more random as opposed to the way that things have been handled in the MCU.
Yeah, they do things that kind of fit well, where it's not just like out of fucking nowhere. Where it's like,
it's
the other shows he makes no sense in any way.
Anything that's announced already, but again, like if he showed up in Secret Invasion, somehow
that makes sense.
But yeah, like I wouldn't question it, especially if he shows up and then like 20 minutes in you realize he's a Skrull, or something. Not that he was always a Skrull, but it's a Skrull taking his form temporarily. I actually think we could see a lot of that in Secret Invasion. Characters showing up.
Oh, I think well,
I think it'll also,
let's see if they even end up as Skrulls.
I think it'll also be a way to be able to show like quote unquote comic accurate costumes, to show that like the Skrulls might not understand exactly, or they've only heard secondhand information about what like somebody's costume looks like. So we could potentially see like a full Hawkeye ass costume, or like
he's kind of the only one that hasn't gotten it.
Which one? Hawkeye?
Hawkeye.
He only has variations of his ultimate costume. Really,
because we've gotten Thor in a bunch of different costumes. We got Cap and Iron Man and Hulk and Black Widow and
I don't think we ever get
in her full costume.
I don't think we ever get an accurate Hawkeye costume. I
know every time that they try to put it on Jeremy Renner, he threatens him with a gun. That's exactly what happens.
He shoots him.
What's weird? I could see Haley Steinfeld wearing something that looks very much like the comic book accurate costume. I don't know why, but in my mind, I can see it already. I can see her even asking for it.
Real quick,
she seems like somebody who would.
Real quick, did you see the fucking picture of Jeremy Renner like announcing they wrapped on Hawkeye, and it's just a picture of him clapping?
No,
that's a very Jeremy Renner ass thing to do. Again,
dude, such an asshole.
Hawkeye, a great show for James Buchanan Barnes to show up for like a minute or something.
The Hawkeye show. I know, like, the MCU, they'll adapt things 100% because it's like a different medium, and but they're adapting a lot of the Matt Fraction Hawkeye stuff is really good. Like a lot of good.
I would want Bucky to show up just to pet the dog and then walk out.
That's
all he does. No lines. He does it with each
10 out of 10.
This is kind of like going off topic, but I kind of really hope they have the tracksuit Draculas in the live action Hawkeye. The Russian bad guys in like tracksuits are like.
Bro.
Seriously. The what?
You got Blade coming at some point.
Oh yeah. This Marshall Ali. They're gonna have his own thing.
Yeah.
And the most important MCU show, Hawkeye. Or movie. I'm not quite sure. Can't wait.
All right.
So we're kind of rambling off the rails here.
We have one character we have really not talked about.
Who?
Carly?
The main antagonist.
You see, so here's the thing. I don't want to talk about her that much. No, we kind of need to talk to her.
Yeah,
about
she's
her.
a woman.
We've talked nothing about her.
Well, that's unreal. Yeah,
Bits and
the most
pieces.
unrealistic thing
Well,
about
it's because
her is
Arlen
the
and
woman.
Hunter are sexist.
Yeah.
How
We
dare
hate
you,
women.
sir? We just
hate-
speak the truth.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to pivot as much of the hate.
Hunter is very respectful when we go to strip clubs.
Well,
I
I mean,
mean-
it just it continues with the theory we have on the show that once again, she's a woman. Women
Yeah.
can't be super soldier terrorists.
Yeah.
They
No,
can't
they
fight
can't.
great drag race. They can't go to space.
It just doesn't work.
It
just
doesn't work. My immersion is shattered.
So so to be serious for a second, I want to start off with saying the idea of Carly is really good. The concept of the Carly Morgenthau character is really good. I don't think it's handled as well as it could be
I
handled.
kind of disagree.
I think it's handled really good. I'm with Izzo.
I'm not saying that it's okay. I think there are moments where you could say it's being handled well, but I think overall it's kind of up and down depending on the scene and yeah. But I want to hear what you think about it.
Okay, so I see that like she's a lot of us can sympathize with the cause, but then agree that like she goes too far, right? But there's also like that's a very realistic thing in the real world where like people can like become fucking misguided. And then like become dangerous and like become like.
This is what I mean by the. I think the idea is great.
My point is she's an example of how like the system failed her. She was like a fucking teenager who like fucking became this like kind of dangerous thing and radicalized. But it's like as much as like you might not like how what her mindset was. Like she's a product of how like the world and the system fails kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you create these monsters by not.
I very much like I very much like the idea of her and what they set up, and I think the actress is doing a great job. That's what I'm going to be clear about that. She's doing great.
Yes,
I think the writing fails her in a couple of moments.
Here's what I'll agree with you. I think they are trying to show her younger than she looks. Yeah. I read the character as being like almost 30. And I guess she's supposed to be like 17, 18?
Yeah, supposed to be like a teenager, yeah.
I was reading 30. Her like mid-20s. Like that was the read I got off for.
But yeah, she's supposed to be much younger, which would make more sense. I think it would have more weight if she actually looked younger.
She can pass for like 21 maybe.
Yeah, but I still think that's too old. Like there's something about it actually being like a teenager that would be more interesting.
Can I say in the 5 years maybe like she didn't get to grow up. So
if she was 18 at the start of the blip, she's 13.
I mean, you could say that she grew up really fast. Cortisol apparently causes you to age faster, so on and so forth. I will say, like, the time between now and her role in Solo, A Star Wars Story, she played more believable.
Oh, she was in that, wasn't she? Oh,
yes.
Yeah, that's the only other big thing she's been in. It's like that and like some British
where she played essentially the same character.
Wasn't she in Game of Thrones? Wasn't she in Game of Thrones? Which, by the way,
I don't think she was.
I don't think so.
I think some of Carly and all of the Flag Smashers like ideals were kind of poorly viewed or a poorly like written view of progressive.
They didn't show enough of the stuff during the 5 years.
Yes.
I think that's kind of the point, Eric. I think it's supposed to be like she is like that. Like
they're not right.
Her and Walker are mirrors in a way.
Yeah.
Like neither are really bad people, but they're like too far gone in their own.
And the system failed both of them, basically.
Yes,
right.
In different
and they're
ways.
Not well thought out. Yes, they're not. They're not.
I get that.
Fully
it's just
formed people.
That's the only part that I had any issue with, like what their manifesto, for lack of a better term,
apparently
was.
She is in the Willow TV show.
Oh, nice!
Oh, that's not out yet. I can already guess who she's playing. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's
Willow.
Yep. No, she's playing. She's playing Scorsha.
A baby.
She's
the
princess Scorsha, the daughter of the.
It says she's.
I've never seen Willow.
That's my guess.
Oh, she.
It says she. I'm guessing it's their kid.
Oh yeah.
I just noticed. I just realized something really quick. there's a parallel between her and John that's very realistic, where she's labeled as a terrorist, and he's like a soldier, sent to go take her down. In the real world, we have these like groups that some are terrorists maybe, but I don't know. The terrorist label is kind of like shaky thing to call people, but like there are groups that are labeled terrorists, and then we have soldiers go kill them, and then it's like both sides are kind of pawns, and both sides are like very like they're not respected enough to really like, hey, like maybe these people have something to say, and maybe these soldiers shouldn't be used as pawns either. Like,
there's a lot of parallels, and I think that's what they're doing.
They're both kind of like not like nobody cared about her message, nobody cared about John's life either. Just like send him to go fucking do this job, and it's like
they're both like they're both like lawful evil.
Nobody wants to interrogate what they actually believe, and nobody wants to actually care
about what John's going through.
Well, that's how it goes into like the Falcon speech. That's so good. It's like he kind of hits both things so well.
The Falcon speech does a lot for them, and it does a lot to smooth over the cracks. Actually, that's the thing. That's one of the great things about that speech at the end, and about the way that Sam so naturally is Captain America at the end. But again, if you're just looking at the actual plot line itself, it's kind of weak, and it could be better. I'm not saying it's not.
No, I kind of agree, but Sam's speech did kind of justify her character for me, because it's like, she kind of like had a tragic end, and like, her message maybe it was misconstrued, but like the fact that like that's kind of realistic, and not everybody gets justice, whatever. But also like Sam got to like point that out, like, hey, like she was willing to fucking die or kill you. Maybe you should at least like reconsider that, like there's something you should like change about the world, instead of just like
well, I think that's where like it draws really well
instead of rushing back to the normal.
Like people fucking lost their lives, and you guys are still like not getting the point.
I want to bring up one thing, because me and my wife kept joking, because she's home, she like works from home, so she's watching every day. The number 2 in the Flag Smashers, the buff Asian dude, she loved him because he went on Good Morning America and talked about like how he found out he was at the gym working out and got the call he was going to be in the show, and like started crying, and his friends were like, dude, it's amazing, don't forget your gains.
He said on his social media, he was putting out how he's very like excited that he's got to be on this show as an Asian person.
He gets a lot of screen time. Like,
he said that he said one of the prop guys was Filipino, and kind of like noticed that he was very like excited and like happy to be on the Captain America show, kind of. And the prop guy gave him a piece of the paint chips that come off the shield that he has to fix.
Oh, that's a great memento.
He gave him a piece of it, and he has it in his phone case, and it's like pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, that's what like I like about the Flag Smashers, is that they're like age and race diversity, where it's like it shows the world. So they have multiple conversations where it's like, oh, could you imagine? Because she's like Irish and he's obviously American, and the big Spanish. Biracial. Well, yeah, I mean in the show she's like Irish, but she's like Irish, and
she's British though.
She's Black British. Her dad, I think, is Black British, and their mom is Irish.
Yeah.
But like they have like the Asian American guy, they have like the Hispanic guy, and like they have the older white woman. Yeah. Like I like that it showed that like this fucked everybody. It made their group like feel way more real.
Mm. Yeah, the bottom was not about like ethnicity.
Yeah. A lot of this, again, a lot of the setup is really good. Like a lot of what they establish is interesting, and if the Flag Smashers continue to be an antagonist in the show going forward, I wouldn't be opposed to that, because they set them up in a way that makes sense.
Even at the end, superpowered are dead though, so the rest of them.
But even at the end, it shows that like people are still for their idea. In places, because like because when the big fight happens, it's like 2 guys in the security team.
Well, there's still one left, because he said
in the Hudson.
Yeah.
So...
Well, that is that last like I don't know 10 minutes of action or whatever. I'm curious what was the writing room thinking when they all stopped fighting each other to watch Sam lift the armored car. Because that struck me as That struck me as really weird that they're all like
It's
ready to beat the piss out of each other, and
it's
then they're
very
like,
anime. They're like, oh,
yeah.
Well,
yeah,
if we
all-
got away from the
yeah.
power up, it's not fair. That's
They
against.
don't really know what to do. Honestly, they're just like the fuck, like shit.
He's
they're all-
lifting up. He's lifting up the physical personification of oppression,
Yeah.
and they're in shock.
So,
Yeah,
on that note, I wanted to point out like all the imagery of Sam after he gets the new suit is so fucking good. I don't know if we said this already, but like
that suit, it looks. I love it. Yeah, and
I feel
everything
like
they
they
do.
I feel like they did like intentionally some kind of like filter or something. Like the visually, it looked even like I don't know, like that have a cool visual style when he has that suit.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it. They're going for something. Like I don't know what they're going for exactly.
They highlighted
like,
with the lighting and like some of the I don't know some things they did where
I think everything they went for was like perfect. Like it felt great.
Yes.
I think your point is correct. I think whenever there was a good shot of Sam, the lighting on him was better than on anybody else.
Yeah.
Because like especially when he had his big speech at the end with the with all the members of the relocation party, like he was amazingly well lit compared to everybody else, and it made the white top.
When he first goes into the building and they're like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I'm Captain America."
Yeah.
Well, if that speech doesn't work, it kills the whole show. Straight up,
exactly.
The whole show.
Yeah, and Anthony Mackie like has proven that he can like fucking like vocally just carry a scene, like
Yeah.
like in 8 Mile when he's fucking rapping and shit.
Well, and I mean, I think the show cemented like his standing within the MCU for the foreseeable future with his contract.
Oh, he kind of could be the new, like, front of it all.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of the plan. Like,
I mean, I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, like Doctor Strange is Iron Man, like him being Captain America. Yeah, he's Captain America, but like he is the Captain America of the team. Like it's a little different than saying like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, this person is the analog of that person. Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
But he's not Steve Rogers, but he's still Captain America. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly.
He's the core. He's the heart of the team.
Yep.
Yeah.
He can be a leader.
That position, yeah.
He can be a leader, and he can give fucking orders and
Yeah, and people will have reason to listen to him because he exemplifies all the best aspects of Steve.
Yeah. And he knows that everybody's gonna like him, but he doesn't give a fuck. He's like, I'm gonna still do what I gotta do. Like
he's gonna do what's right, even if it like hurts him.
Yeah.
You can do
all
it all day.
Do we want to do like a closing thoughts on this show, and then maybe we can do that news story that we had, or did anybody have like a sort of a final thought?
I was gonna say that I do like that they already announced Part 4 of Captain America, like, and there's gonna be like this team,
like immediately afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, they were kind of sitting.
I'm also wondering, like, I would love if WandaVision and this got season 2, but I also feel like it's not necessary. Like, they can just continue with like what they did with those.
Well, that goes with the whole weird timeline thing. Like WandaVision was supposed to lead right into Doctor Strange, and then Black Widow was supposed to be around like right before this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I don't know. I on that note, like, I don't think they need to do a second season of any of these shows. Like,
I would still like it if they did, but if they made sense, but it was also like they can just continue into whatever. Like,
if they did like John Walker and the Thunderbolts,
right? Well, I think they would do Thunderbolts, and then if they, depending on where that show leaves John Walker, I could see them doing a U.S. agent show, or something to that effect. And I think
I think we're like Falcon and Winter Soldier aren't on TV level anymore.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Well,
now it's Captain America the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
like this. That season was. This season was like not necessarily to set up like continuing seasons. It's more just to get these characters a boost. And like,
to me, the shows are very much lead ups to movies. Like this is like
okay. I think this show did more. I think this show
I'm getting that feeling
laid out the universe like going forward.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes,
like
absolutely.
more than WandaVision and more than Far From Home did.
So so I think you're right. Like I think that this leads into there being more cat movies. Like that's the important thing that this gave us. I think WandaVision is definitely setting up Doctor Strange 2, but at the same time, do I think there's going to be a WandaVision season 2? No. I personally am of the opinion that there will be just a Scarlet Witch show at some point, depending on where she goes in Doctor Strange and how her story goes.
I could see them doing a Falcon show with the other guy.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the guy who got turned into a vampire in the comics?
No, he got turned into
a Hawk.
He got his genes spliced with Falcon's Falcon.
Okay,
I could see that.
No, but he's also part vampire. Like I was
he
reading
becomes part vampire at some point. At some point, him and Sam Wilson.
I think a lot of people became part vampire. So on that note, what I was saying about
don't talk about my Jared Leto fandom.
What I was talking about when I was talking about James, something that just occurred to me is that there have been multiple Winter Soldier miniseries in the comics, and the one that I'm thinking of that comes to mind most strongly is there's a miniseries that takes place with him at the height of his Winter Soldier-ness, where somebody actually triggers the actual James underneath, and it's him running from. It wasn't Hydra because in the books it's Leviathan or whatever.
No, he's working for the Russian group in the comics.
Yeah, Leviathan, isn't that?
Oh, was that the one that the art was Goran Pavlov? I think was the artist.
I don't remember because what I remember from that era is that he was working with this 5 foot tall Canadian guy, and they were running around at certain points.
Right. So they could do. I could see them doing a 6 episode thing where it's where it's James and he's remembering a specific adventure from when he was the Winter Soldier, and he's also trying to figure out what he is again. I could see them doing that as a way of giving him
trying to move on a little bit from his past.
Yeah.
I mean, I get what you mean, but I still want him to find his own thing. I would like him to not be the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, but it could be a more unknown feature instead of just dwelling on his past.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's Marvel's best bet is to, all right, this is the past we've established within the MCU. Let's move on to whatever's next for these characters,
honestly,
how long we have them contracted for.
My wish for Bucky is that I wanted to have him kind of settle down with Sam's sister and become a stepdad. Just a stay-at-home dad. But then Sam constantly pulls him back into adventure shit.
I mean,
that would be really good.
Yeah.
But it's our anniversary tonight, Sam.
Anyways,
fuck.
Okay, so it sounds like we just want to talk about the Cap 4. So let's talk about Cap 4 then. So they announced that Malcolm Spellman and what is his name? Dallon Musun.
They directed 2 or 3 of the episodes, or do they do all of them?
He wrote. He
Yeah.
wrote the 5th one. The other guy who's not Malcolm, he wrote the 5th one and a couple of the other episodes. I found this out earlier today. He also wrote one of the Iron Skies movies, which might be a hint as to what Cap 4 is about. Might not be.
Nazis.
No, but it is an indication to me that Hydra isn't off the table. I think back Hydra anytime soon.
They basically established that by having Madam Hydra in.
Yeah.
So
cut off one head
and that's what Nick Fury way back
right
said that he was going after.
Yes. So I don't think that they want to touch Hydra right now. I think that they did Hydra when they did because our president wasn't basically a white supremacist in all but name. And I think that it's still too close to that for them to be
what would be
we're doing Hydra again.
What would be fun for them to do that you could kind of transition Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character into is the Hellfire Club
or Hammer.
They're not going to touch the Hellfire Club until they do.
I'm saying the concept of a wealthy rich
Well,
elite running the
you know,
world.
most people that are like on YouTube and shit, or people that's just putting out like her character, they make a big deal of missing that she's not just Madame Hydra in the comics. She's also like
She's
a triple agent for Russia.
Right.
She has like other roles. She's not just like only Madame Hydra.
I think they lean into the super spy aspect and the fact that she is like
I honestly
evil Nick basically, and their relationship could be a thing.
Well, it makes sense. Like if she was supposed to be in Black Widow, the Black Widow movie, that they set her up to be the Russian Nick Fury and giving us our new Black Widow.
I honestly think it's like they're gonna do a Hammer thing where like Shield's gone.
I'm with you.
Like like someone is going to try to fill the void that Shield left.
Yeah,
like,
and since they don't have Norman Osborn, that would make perfect sense.
Yeah, they can do, and it's like you can fill that Norman Osborn character with other characters, and
and her and Thunderbolt having like a partnership just makes a lot of fucking sense because just their energies are very aligned so far.
He's the worst.
Yes, he's Thunderbolt Ross is the worst person in the entire fucking MCU.
Yeah,
he's a horrible piece of shit. So him and her just teaming up makes complete and total sense.
Yeah.
And them being pawns of say some Eastern European figure of wealth and status who is maybe playing the game from behind the scenes,
Vladimir Putin,
moving the chess pieces.
I was just about to yell out Donald Trump, but yeah.
It's a Modok version of the Red Skull, but it's played by that guy from
Dr. Doom. That's fine. The P-tape.
Oh yeah, or it could be Dr. Doom.
I can see them playing the long game.
The P-tape belongs to Doom and Doom.
Doom does not enjoy being peed on. It would rust his suit.
It's like Peon Doombot number.
Is, but he'll find out.
He would be like Peon Doombot number 4, and I'll think about it.
Yeah.
Doom enjoys watching, not doing.
They could have it be that his son is really into golden showers too.
Which son? He has many.
Well, I know, but
my joke is saying that Dr. Doom would have power over Putin and Trump by possessing the P-tape and like not releasing it. But, like...
So
here's the thing, man. Like
I have put magic over this tape, so no one can burn it.
At this point, anyone can be Kang. The fact that we know that Kang is happening, all characters are Kang, and we know that Secret Wars and Kang are a thing. All characters are Skrulls and or Kang.
I feel like we're gonna see like some stuff of Kang in the Loki show.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
I think we're getting a long setup with Kang. I think Kang is in multiple movies, 100%.
It makes total sense.
I don't know. I will wait to see because every guess that I've heard about Marvel stuff from the beginning has been wrong in one way or another.
True.
So I would rather wait.
I feel like
we should temper our expectations and just wait till we see what we see.
Exactly.
I mean, I agree, but I'm gonna speculate even regardless. I'm just gonna it's gonna happen. I can't.
WandaVision is proof that we don't know anything we're fucking talking
about.
No, I know.
WandaVision is proof that speculation can go too far and that you need to just like calm the fuck down sometimes.
All I know is Ralph Boner, and I've seen Kang's dong.
Right.
That and we know from the entire history of the MCU that they're not very good at keeping their villains around.
No.
And go ahead. Let's hear this wild speculation.
This is part of my logic that they know that they can't do that anymore, and I think that they
haven't done that for a while.
Yeah, I feel like they're very much going in the opposite direction.
I feel like
they don't have a producer who's like, no, he'd be too expensive to bring back. If my fake Israeli accent is not indication of who I'm talking about.
Besides him, Black Panther, what was the last movie with a definitive villain death?
Hela.
No, we don't see her die on screen.
Well, she's magic anyway.
Well,
we don't see her or Suther die on screen.
I'll say this because they're gods, and because that movie very much made them like capital G gods. It's like if they can come back, they will bring them back, but it's kind of in a nebulous
It's
zone.
but I mean, like, there's the last time they explicitly
listen.
showed.
I mean,
Mysterio
Thanos is
dies.
dead. Thanos is like gone.
No, but like Thanos is dead. Is Mysterio dead?
Yes, Mysterio's fucking dead.
Mysterio, the person, as in Quentin Beck, is dead.
Yes.
The people, the organization that he set up.
Yeah.
There is more than
Jake Gyllenhaal is dead. Okay.
Yeah.
But like Vulture's alive. Zemo is alive.
Okay.
I think the point is still made, though, that
Loki is kind of is around.
Like, yeah, but Rush Limbaugh's dead.
Yeah, exactly.
The greatest villain of them all.
And I can almost guarantee that this Loki show is going to be it for Tom Hiddleston. Like, I think this is the final hurrah for Loki.
Depending on the checks.
And yeah, exactly. And he gave it supposed to be the last thing for him, and then they showed him a big check. He's like, I'll come back.
So I want to address what you just said there, Eric. You just said it's the last hurrah for Loki. I think it's the last hurrah for Tom Hiddleston as Loki. I feel like this show is very much setting up them transitioning that.
No, they could go woman Loki or kid Loki.
They could do whatever they want. They could establish an entirely different Loki at the end of that show.
Well, I know, but
having Ms. Marvel coming out, Loki was a chunk of that.
Can I just say, you guys prided out of me? I'm going to be Black Loki in the Loki show.
I would be fine with a Black Loki.
That would be great.
Thing is, like,
that'd be interesting. It's just keeping
like
Michael Gill.
I like when they move forward. Like
I agree.
All of the people that were in like everything up to Endgame, awesome. These shows have been good, and I feel like these shows have been a lot for, hey, let's give, with the exception of Loki, let's give characters that didn't get as much screen time as they maybe should have more screen time to lead into these other movies. But outside of that, like, I don't need to see any more Loki. Like, I don't need to see.
No, I agree with you, but that's kind
Tom
of
Hiddleston Loki.
I don't need this, but it looks fun.
No, I don't need to see Loki at all anymore. Like, no, I get it. Like, he's great. He's a ton of fun as Loki, but it can't be special if it's happening all the time.
No, I totally agree with what you're saying. For me, it's more, okay, we haven't really had this yet, where a character continues on into a completely different era within the MCU.
You know the reason why I'm into the Loki show? So I'm going to cut you off.
It's a thing that we see in comics all the time, where a character is very much the same character, but there's a definitive point where that character is something else as well. We haven't had that yet. We have that all the time in comics. It happens literally like every 5 or 10 or 5 or 6 years. It's not a thing that we've seen in this universe yet. And Loki is a character where in live action it would make so much sense. So for me, it's like, if they can do it and they can pull it off, and it's acceptable and it just feels right, then great, they should do it. If they don't want to do it, or if that's not their plan, if that's not their intention, and they don't do that, then also great. I'm fine with that as well. It's their universe, and I'm at the point where I'm like, yeah, do whatever you want with it, and I'll take it all in. I don't really care either way. But I see your point, Eric. I absolutely see your point.
Yeah, the reason why I'm kind of into the Loki show, because it's embracing like weirdness on purpose. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, multiverse shit.
Hello?
Okay, it wasn't just me.
Okay.
They came for Izza.
And then they came for me, and then they came. Hunter, did Hunter crash?
Yeah, Hunter crashed as well. That was at 12:58. Oh no, that was 12:58. He dropped out. Yeah.
A minute ago. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Just the four of us. 3 of us.
At this point, Izza's probably still talking into the microphone.
Well, okay.
What's the other news thing?
We don't have to go to the other news. Did we have any like actual thoughts about Cap 4? Because we keep on going in different directions.
I have no idea, and that's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect, and that's what I want out of the Marvel films going forward, is to be surprised.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
just
I'm into it.
There we go. We lost you there as a
I could easily see them doing like Red Skull 2 as like a white nationalist character would be really interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know if they have the huevos to do that, but
once again, like they have so many other characters they could pull from.
Yes, they have other villains. I know people have been asking for Serpent Society for a very long time. There are other things that they could do, and again, I don't think that they want to touch Hydra right now. I really don't. I think that they're aware of how icky that feels for a lot of people. I think Marvel is still dealing with the aftershocks of Hydra Cap to this day. So yeah, I don't know if they'll go near that. And there's just other stuff that they can do, and still, like, I expect these writers to not just change the way that they write these characters when they do the movies. I'm very curious to see what that will look like, and to see what they come up with when they know that they have to make something that is big and event heavy in that movie format, because it's still a different thing. It's still different from what they actually wrote. What they wrote is very character heavy and very dependent on these actors performing the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing them do like big event stuff will be curious and interesting. So yeah, can't wait.
Yep. Yeah, it's outside of like I'm happy that it's the people who were directly involved with a lot of Cap and Winter Soldier, or Cap, God damn it. Well, I mean, Cap,
it is
but Falcon, but Falcon, Winter Soldier, like that's all I need to know. Like outside of that, like cool. Yeah. Let me be surprised as things come out. And there's still the other shows like the Hawkeye show and the Echo show and She-Hulk. Like we don't know what effect they're going to have on. Also,
didn't they cast Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight, which is probably so far off. But...
Yeah, they did. What? And there's been other casting, but it wasn't anybody that I knew from anything. So
and just to like the more immediate future, I mean, we've got Black Widow, so we'll see what that affects, if anything. And then we've got the Eternals, which can open up an entirely new aspect of the Marvel universe.
Eternals and Shang-Chi showed some real interesting things in that trailer, because they show ancient China and what appears to be some sort of dragon, maybe.
I think Shang-Chi's father, whoever the character's name, I think he's the Mandarin, right?
Yeah, they changed him. They got rid of, because they don't have the rights to Fu Manchu. So he's
it was also Fu Manchu, very stereotypical. So also
exactly.
So is the Mandarin. So, but
it looks like they're handling the Mandarin much better than they did in the comics.
He's not like
he's not the long-haired guy with the Fu Manchu mustache and the super long nails.
He's not the villain named Fu Manchu. He's the villain with a Fu Manchu.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm excited to see where they're going, because it's all new stuff. So I think it'll be fun. Yeah, outside of that, I guess, do we want to wrap?
Well, we kind of need to, because one of our robots died.
We're gonna rob somebody, lay down a beat. Oh,
so yeah.
Then we hit up those 808s.
I guess I'll do plugs first. Lost Horror Podcast. By the time this episode should come out, a forthcoming Lost Horror should be happening. We're going to be covering the Oscars, so we'll be recording that Monday after it's already aired. So look forward to that episode sometime about a day after this is out for everyone, maybe sooner. So that's my plugs.
All right. Well, since through attrition I've become the second plug. I'm Erik Fedorchik. You can find me at Erik_Fedor on Instagram. There's pictures of dogs and food and cats and comics. I'm floating around the Phantom Zone doing Phantom Zone things. Our good friend Izza, who was on the show tonight to talk to us about
I'm on various social media as either the Izza with an underscore, or like maybe Izza Gray. I don't even know. I don't know if I changed it. Could be Izza Gray. I don't know. But
Oh no! I was just saying that. Hey, you were on the show. He has had some tough shit befall him,
Yes.
and he could use any help you are willing to give. There is a GoFundMe to help with various costs for said problems that have occurred. Anything you can give would be awesome, and if you can't give, share it, because you never know. People, sometimes the kindness of strangers can be more beneficial than you realize. That was the most awkward sentence I've ever said.
Much appreciated.
You powered
Yeah,
through it.
so yeah, so the link to the GoFundMe is on the Phantom Zone, and it's always pinned with the notes for every show for the past who knows how long. So yeah, if you can give. If you can't, share it. And
many thanks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the man himself. All right, who wants to go next?
I'm Hunter Davenport. You can find me at Young_Kami. If you have any problems with anything I've said, you can send those messages to me. I was on a podcast recently. We watched Monster Hunter. I sad.
Monster Hunter.
My opinion as the man named Hunter Davenport is that is one of the top 5 movies I've ever seen.
Next to Cats.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. Yeah, I guess that's everybody, because Izza snuck his plugs in when I was trying to plug his GoFundMe.
I didn't. Yeah, I thought you were setting up.
No, but that's fine, dude. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's chaos at this point. Arlen's a little bit drunk, and Lou had some drinks earlier too. So.
Fuck yeah.
No, actually, I'm fairly sober right now.
I don't know who you're talking about. Lou logged off hours ago. My name is Hunter Davenport.
I'm sorry, Hunter. Yeah, that joke you said earlier was unacceptable, and I will be writing to my local congressman. Well, I guess with that being said, good night, everybody.
Good night. Bye.